7, 8, 6. Come on, come on,
That's
come on.
that's it.
Come
We got it.
on, yeah, boy!
Fuck yeah.
Sindal fucking rescued me and killed me.
Yeah, shit.
Stratagem.
Push, please.
Come on, guys, push, push, push.
Fucking do it!
Come on, come on, come on!
Yes!
Please.
Come on!
Please. Yes!
Yes! Yes!
Welcome everybody to MogTalk episode 175. Today we will be discussing the World Race. If you guys have not seen MogTalk before, it's a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community discussing everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. And of course, before I get too far into it, I do want to introduce everyone we have on the show. And we have a lot of people, 8 people total here, from 4 from each team, 4 from Elysium, 4 from Entropy. So let me go ahead and start this. I'm going to start with Elysium here. And I'm going to go alphabetically. So I'm going to go with Klops, or Layla, who's hiding under Zindolf's name here. Could you tell everybody who you are, Layla?
Hi, my name is Sindolf. I've been playing the game since 2.0. Been playing Warrior. My favorite class. Love that class. You may have known me from free companies such as Legacy. I recently switched roles to healer because they took away Inner Beast and I no longer wanted to tank. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that.
This guy, dude. This guy.
I've heard you're still single. Is that true?
Yeah, unfortunately, not to a lack of effort.
Oh, all right. Well, that's Layla, guys. There you go. All right, Gwen. Could you go next for me?
Okay. My name is Gwen. I like pies. I've been raiding since, or not raiding, but I've been playing since A Realm Reborn, and I've been doing hardcore raiding for a little over like a year and a half now, primarily playing melee, and now being stuck on a resin caster. My favorite.
All right. Sophia.
Hello, I'm Sphere, caster main. I'm the dude who made him have to play a resin caster because I didn't want to this time. That's about it for me.
Okay. And Sil.
Hey, my name is Sil. I am the range player for this team. I used to be a healer, but then I saw that there wasn't going to be a third healer, so I said, I'm out.
Okay.
Now you see me on range.
Very good. Very good. All right. And now let's introduce Entropy over here. Aya, could you go first?
Hello, I'm Maya. I play melee DPS for Entropy, which is how you pronounce it, and not Entropy.
Entropy. Right?
No.
Entropy?
No. Yes.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do my best. I'm horrible at it. Spencer, or Ayessa.
Hello, I'm Ayessa Fail. I play Scholar for Entropy, and I've been part of the team since Creator.
Okay. Bevan.
Hello, I'm Bevan. I play the guy in the backpack for Entropy, and I've been playing since Stormblood.
Okay, and Rafter.
Hi, I'm Rafter. I'm a Dark Knight player. One trick, by the way. I've been wall progging and beating Americans for 3 expansions now.
All right. There we go. I just want you guys to get familiar with the voice a little bit, especially people who are going to be listening to this just on audio only. The reason why we're having this show is, of course, the World Race happened recently, and 2 of the teams that are consistently in the World Race competing against each other is Elysium and Entropy. And they're going against trying to get world first every single time. Of course, Folds in fucking chat doesn't want to come on like God. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions, please ask them during the show, and we'll try to get them around the end of the show here. And without too much further ado, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So I want to go ahead and start jumping into some of the questions I have. One, of course, we've gone almost about a year from any kind of world race really happening, unless if you want to count, I guess, Baldessian Arsenal, right? That did count.
No.
No? Okay.
If only one team's going, I don't know. What,
Dude, the
racing
best team.
themselves?
Oh, all right. But from Savage Ultimate, it's been a very long time here. I'm very curious because this is, I guess, maybe a little bit different than what you guys have had before in the World Race. Do you guys feel like it was different at all? And I'll start here with Elysium's team, someone from Elysium.
How do you mean different?
Does it feel like you had to do things differently at all during the prog? Was there different things you had to consider?
No.
No, pretty straightforward.
Sorry for the uninteresting answer, but no, not really. It just felt, it felt like Savage.
Okay.
It's Savage prep at the start of a new expansion. You have 4 weeks. You use those 4 weeks pretty much the same way you used them back in Delta Escape and the same way it's back in Gordon.
I mean, you guys didn't make any considerations for how gear was dropped or anything like that?
I mean, you have the choice now to choose exactly what characters are getting eye levels increased now, which is a little bit different mid-prog, but preparation-wise, I mean, not much change.
Okay. What'd you guys do to prep for it?
I mean, it's a whole lot of normal mode. A lot of, I guess, guessing what the mechanics could be and playtesting all sorts of different jobs and comps. I mean, it's new expansions. You have to play test basically everything.
Okay. Entropy, do you guys have any prep? I'm assuming so.
I mean, we did primals. We hit the dummy to test many comps, see what it's like. Don't know if we did it completely right though, because a lot of people tend to play warrior. Maybe we're wrong, but I don't know. It didn't seem too good. Not sure why people would play it, but who's to say?
Okay.
That's why
So
we brought Sindolf on the show.
I'm sure Sindolf is going to be very happy about this, Layla.
I'm pretty sure Sindolf hates Shadowbringers Warrior.
Okay. Why is Warrior so bad? You guys just go into a little
the
bit of
first
detail.
derail of many. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it just okay. Well, I mean, I'll give you my opinion on Warrior. I don't know if it's different than how say somebody like Rafter feels, but it does some things really well. Like it's not a Warrior is not a bad tank at all. I mean, it's obviously succeeded this tier. I mean, any job is capable of succeeding this tier, but what I view as Warrior's strengths aren't a part of the content right now. I think Warrior is very good when tank busters are very, very, very large damage, but we don't have any tank busters that hit hard enough that make the best utilization of what Warrior's strength is, which is its heavy amount of EHP. But a lot of its EHP is rooted in percent damage reduction, and the numbers just aren't high enough for the percent damage reduction to overtake something like a Rampart TBN. Like when you have an absorb stacking with a percent damage reduction at low damage values, the absorb is 9 times out of 10 going to win out.
Okay. Entropy, are you guys pretty much on the same board?
I mean, yeah, pretty much exactly what he said, and the fact that it's bottom of the meter by a long way. Pretty bad.
Yeah, it lost a lot of its damage argument as well. But I will say that like when it came to damage decisions regarding tanks this expansion, the differences were pretty marginal. They were the most marginal they've been for any expansion launch. I can say that much.
So I guess that kind of goes into a topic of comps and everything. And again, when we're talking about comps, we're discussing what's good for a world first race, because you have to consider everything, even if it's a 0.01% chance better. Maybe you want to try to take that comp instead. Do you guys feel like there's a huge difference a lot with what you guys were considering for World Prog? You're like, absolutely not going to take this job because it's not going to help us at all.
Yeah, Red Mage, garbage. Machinist, garbage.
Ninja,
Astrologian, garbage. Ninja's terrible. Warrior's actual trash. What else? Did I miss one? Dancers? Dancers
I
okay,
feel like
I guess.
the only one that you really 100% ruled out is Samurai.
Oh yeah, Samurai, pretty bad.
Okay. And basically, the damage just wasn't really needed, or what do you mean by why is Samurai so bad? It just didn't synchronize.
It's just
well
worse than Monk
It's
in
a
every way.
Monk light.
Okay.
Doesn't give anything to me, and it doesn't really do any damage on the meter either. So not interested in it.
How'd you feel about not really knowing? Because, I mean, honestly, you could only really make good guesses before the patch came out, right? Because they're making a lot of changes to jobs. When you saw the patch notes, did you completely reconsider what you were going to go in with?
Yeah, that 5 seconds on reassemble was huge. It was like the best. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we ran the numbers on Gus Slash and decided that we were still not taking Ninja. So
It was a close pick, though, to be honest.
For Ninja?
Between what?
I'm just kidding. Ninja was shit.
Okay, I was
With
about
all
to
the
say-
monk buffs, monk got so much nice buffs in that patch. It, like, pretty much just.
But
Is
like,
it-
why would they buff Monk? Like, what is all these other jobs that are so bad right now? Like, why did Monk get buffs? I
Before
don't
the tier came out, I'm pretty sure everybody was already preparing to take Monk, and then it got buffed, and it's like if you didn't take Monk, you were actually just.
so I know that we were planning Monk 1 and 2 and Dragoon on 3 and 4, but when when the servers went live, Fold just said he wanted to lock in Monk 1 through 4, so we just rolled with that.
Was there anything else that was, besides Monk, completely, we have to take this job?
Paladin.
In my opinion, Paladin as well, yeah. Probably White Mage was my opinion as well.
So basically, White Mage, Paladin, and Monk were the 3 that almost every group should probably have in that Prog series. And also, I guess Samurai and Ninja were 2 absolutely don't take, along with
For our end, you could add Red Mage to that list.
Red Mage. Okay. Are you guys happy that Red Mage was kind of put down?
Yes.
Oh, I am. Holy shit, I'm sick of that job.
I'm very happy about it because if it was good, I probably would have had to play Red Mage, and I don't want to play Red Mage, so I'll take my.
How did you guys feel about Black Mage being involved in a lot of the race?
Question for Svea.
Yeah.
It's good that I get to play a job that I've put a lot of time into, but it's also, I wish that I didn't have to play it in Prague because it's like you have to tunnel really hard, and I don't feel very useful that way.
I mean, as long as damage is happening to the boss, you're being useful.
Yeah, it's just there are other contributions you can make that I feel like are taken away when you're playing something so like hot barry in a way.
I know on our end, like I was really excited the Black Mage is good because it's definitely one of the strengths of our team is we have a very strong Black Mage, so we got to flex that.
Yeah, I mean, having happy raiders is a lot better, I guess, in the end. Okay, so other things with prep that I want to go through here. What were you guys expecting difficulty-wise and length-wise of the raids? Were you expecting it to be about where it's at right now, or a little bit shorter, or a little bit longer? And anyone?
About where it was now.
Okay. You think they hit it exactly at your expectations?
I mean, I
Well,
expect it to be easy. I don't know if I expect it to be this easy. I'm not sure.
There was a
I
bit
thought
of a
they'd go a bit
question
higher.
of what they were going to do with the last fight because they told us they were going to take out the door boss
Mhm.
compared to Stormblood. So there's maybe a bit of question there, like depending on what they decided to do, maybe it would have been long.
Yeah.
But I think without the door boss and the last fight just being, straight up 13.5 minute fight against Titan, probably about where we would have guessed if we'd known that beforehand, like slightly shorter than Deltascape.
Yeah, it felt it was about 2 hours shorter than Deltascape.
Yep.
Which was kind of
And you can probably just put that on the door boss not being there.
Was it only 2 hours? It felt a lot quicker than Delta for some reason.
Delta, I think, was 18 hours, if I remember right.
I don't even think was Titan 16?
I think it was about 16.
I
I'd
thought
have
it was
to...
much
Was
less
it?
than that. but
Yeah,
I'd
it
have
had to
to
be
check.
way less. I thought.
Really? Let me
I mean,
check
I'm not sure. You're the one with the sheep, but
actually, no, you're right. It's at 14. 23, 50.
I was
But
thinking
Deltascape was
somewhere
16 hours, I
12 to
think.
14.
Oh, 16. I just had it a little bit.
Okay,
backwards.
sure.
So, still about 2 hours of difference. And I mean,
Door boss for sure.
the whole point of these races is your sprint. This is just your quick sprint, whoever can get there faster, and there's a lot of things that you have to factor in there. As we saw too throughout the race, I don't know how salty or how horrible a thing is to bring up, but there was disconnects on the NA data centers, and We've seen it in the past too happen with EU data centers, and JP data centers have had the issues too, where just one data center kind of takes the hit here. And it's always something that's there, and I don't think it's ever going to be something that can be removed. Would you guys agree with that, or do you think there's things that Square Enix can do to fix that?
I mean, there's obviously things they can do to protect against DDoS, but the question is, would they? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what their system looks like. I don't know what the back end looks like, so I don't know. I'm assuming there's other protections that they could probably take, and they don't
Yeah,
really
I mean,
control
can
the
they
servers
get rid of
either.
the problem entirely? No, but can they put up a better protection? Yeah.
Right.
All the signs were there that it was going to happen, right? Because it's been a recurring problem on the NA data center for like the last month, right?
I mean, they host, I think, their servers on the same servers that WoW does, or not the same servers, but the same company that hosts their servers is same as WoW. And I don't know if there's any difference, because I mean, WoW does have its issues too, right? This is a Layla question, I would guess.
Oh, sorry. What was the question?
WoW has a lot of issues on patch day for servers too, right?
Not to the extent that I disconnect in Final Fantasy, no.
It is a little bit different with their race, of course, because it's not as short, and there's a variety of reasons to it. I mean, how do you guys, in comparison of having Savage be a week long versus being 24 hours, do you have a preference in how that would be handled, or are you happy with the within 24-hour time span of Savage races?
I mean, longer is obviously better, right? But I mean, this content is designed for the casual player base, so can't ask them to make content for us on the Savage and then on the Ultimate as well. So
Yeah, I think it's fine as long as Ultimate is also a part of the game. If we only had Savage and it's also just a day long, it would get a bit.
I mean, do you guys
I
prefer
think-
long, or go ahead, Layla?
I was just gonna say, it's easy to just say like, well, we have Ultimate, so it's okay. But I mean, I look at it from a little bit of different perspective. That Ultimate is one boss, and we're getting 4. I don't want to call them bad bosses, but they're under par for what I would enjoy, I guess.
Lower difficulty.
It's not even just the lower difficulty. I mean, it's just the length of enjoyment.
Okay.
It's just you spend a lot of time preparing for a very, very, very small amount of enjoyment every 6 months. And with Ultimate, you're doing it all for just one boss.
I mean, so what you're saying is that you kind of have dislikes about both situations, about just being all for one boss, or all for a
I mean,
very short time?
I've been pretty vocal about the fact that, I mean, I like Ultimate. If I were given a choice between Ultimate and no Ultimate, I would probably take Ultimate. But if I was given the option, if I could get rid of Ultimate at the benefit of having better Savage tiers, I would choose that, because I think full tiers are more interesting than just one boss.
yeah, I can agree with that as well.
Okay.
But then you have the casual community that are crying, right? That's the issue. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
It's
how do you
not
feel
really
about it?
winning.
Like,
It's
look what happened
just-
in Gordius. Like, half the groups were disbanding, quitting because they couldn't kill bosses, and like, I don't know. That's like Square Enix can't do that. Especially
It's a
when we wear
nice
them in
middle
our-
ground. I just think that there are alternatives that satisfy both sides a bit better than than one really hard boss, but it does require a lot more resources than they've shown that they're willing to commit to just raiding. They put resources into a lot of other things on the on patch.
Yeah, I mean, for groups like us, it's just not worth it, right? Like, we have to spend so much money and then so much prep just for a 1-day tier. Like, it's actually trash, right? So, like, many times we've considered just not caring and streaming. But the only thing that stops is if like one person in our group wants to actually take it serious, then we take it serious. But for what most of us think, like, we don't even care. We
Familiar
just stream
convo.
it.
Jesus Christ, man. All right.
Familiar convo. No, there were rumblings of just streaming Savage and, doing anything tryhard for Ultimate, just because Savage is, you expect it's going to be a 1-day tier. And how much do you enjoy playing a 1-day tier?
Well, all right.
There was just back and forth about that.
With that being said, it is extremely tempting to want to stream, because it is the most profitable day for any streamer is when a Savage tier or Ultimate tier is released?
Yes and no. Like, I mean, I remember when I streamed Deltascape. A, we didn't do it for profit. B, we didn't make any profit. I think it's the channels that already have established communities where that statement holds true. If you just
Not
have
if you're
random
in the
Raider
front.
X, well, I don't know.
If you're witty, people are going to be watching.
We were
you.
ahead of the stream group, the other group streaming when we were streaming Deltascape, and that wasn't my experience.
Really?
We were just doing it for fun.
Yeah, it would be the same for us. It would just be for fun if we were to do it. Like, we don't care about any monetization or whatever on Opera. It's just when you're spending like millions and millions of good gear to like prep for a 1-day meme, then you have to wonder, like, is it worth it? Like, do we even care that we won this tier? Like, no.
Oh my god!
Do we
didn't
care
even
about
get
the
tweet.
format? Then yeah. Like, Savage has just been a meme since a long time now.
So you guys aren't like thinking, "Hey, I'm excited for Savage." You're just like, "We're gonna do it because we want to do it." It's not because you're like, "I'm excited to do this race." It's just I want to go in there and clear as fast as I can.
The fun
that's what
part
I do.
about Savage at this point is not the actual fights themselves; it's just competition. It's just another way you can have a competitive outlet. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So do you guys take, I'm assuming, Ultimate a lot more seriously, a lot more pride goes into that?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's more of a time commitment, right? So.
Well, I
of
mean,
course.
you have other factors into it. You got to start factoring sleep schedules, right? You don't plan to have to go to sleep for Savage, but you do have to have a sleep cycle going into Ultimate. Most likely, what we're thinking, right? Would you like them to make Savage at least a little bit more difficult to where it will take up to like 48 hours to clear?
Savage?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we get more of our craft gear, right?
48's an okay number. The really good teams make that a 1 sleep, and the sleepy boys make it a 2 sleep. So you get to strut how long you can go.
Because I mean, it's one of those things. Go ahead, Gwen. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I like the idea of having like 1 sleep cycle in your Savage prog instead of just like wake up and then crank it all out in one sitting and like, oh yeah, we're done. Like, see you in 6 months.
I think they will do that though. Like, it's obviously hard, right, for beginner tiers because like nothing against their balanced team, right, but probably don't have an accurate representation of their classes and how that relates to their bosses, or how well they think players are going to react to their new ideas and this kind of stuff when they implement in these fights. But as tiers gone on, like, I think it's been like that. Like, it was like that in AlphaScape at least.
They don't
So,
want
I
to
think they'd be
necessarily
alright,
make it. They don't want to make it inaccessible to all the new players who are coming into the game either on the first tier.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, that's kind of my
But you also have to
expectations.
factor in that we're not doing normal mode on the same day this tier. So like when normal mode's on the same day as Savage release, then there is the possibility that we will sleep before the last turn dies.
Okay, so you think in the next couple Savage tiers, we might start seeing 2-day prog instead of just a 1-day, just because you're factoring in having to do normal and you're not having that much advantage of understanding what the strats might look like before the turn comes out.
Maybe the last tier. I mean, this tier, even if you had to do normal on the same day, I mean, this tier died really fast.
Do you think
Like,
normal?
it should have been a 12-hour tier.
You think it should
I
have been?
think we
12
learned a lot about Titan from normal mode though.
I mean, we were talking about it just a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of stuff that if you look at Savage right now, there's only a handful of things that were different, right? Titan maybe had the most difference. Is that right?
Probably. I mean, it's a bit of a toss-up because there are a bunch of new abilities.
There are certain things that you'll pick up from just one trip through the normal mode on the day of Savage release, but then things that you can check if you have a bit more time.
They
I
should have time, was
remember
it?
in Sigmascape, I had to message my friends doing normal mode and try to figure out how you defuse the bombs in 07 Savage.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
We actually asked in FC chat, I think.
Yeah.
See if anyone knew.
I guess one of the last questions here about just this section of prepping and getting ready and how the race overall really went is kind of, do you guys have high expectations for what the other tiers look like from what we saw, or do you have lower expectations from what we
With no
I'd say
door
higher.
bosses, I'd say higher as well, just because no door bosses already makes it better for me.
Okay. Is that everybody? You're kind of optimistic about what it's going to look like in Ultimate and the next Savage tiers?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well,
For me, yeah, go ahead. Sphere.
what they said about this tier was it's going to be more mechanically complex, but DPS checks are easier. Whatever. It goes to show that they're thinking about the tuning of their fights a little better now, I think. And if they do go about that better in the next couple fights, because again, 1 and 2 were an absolute pushover. And if that changes going forward, then it will be a better and longer tier, I think. But it could really go anywhere. It all depends on what they feel like doing with it.
Right.
They need to make the last turn a lot harder, though. That's for sure. It is way too easy right now. I would probably even say Leviathan was probably harder to figure stuff out than Titan was.
But the last tier is the one that had the DPS check, right?
Can
Did
you
it?
call it that? Did it? I don't know.
Did it have a
Did-
DPS check?
At the very end, that was the DPS check that we saw a lot of people, at least on
Oh.
stream, having issues with.
Had a
It
chance
seemed
of
like
having a
they got
DPS check.
the
This is a touchy subject, Frosty.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
There's some affected ones in chat.
DPS check just kind of depends on the
in
weather
voice.
that day.
Yeah, well, I mean, like when we're talking about the DPS check, I guess, and we're saying short instances versus long instances, everything else. The way that it was handled is the fight overall was shorter in some cases and overall was longer in some cases, from a span of 10 to 20 seconds, right?
Yep.
I've seen a difference of almost 30 seconds now, from shortest to longest.
And is there any
Some of that
idea
is
what's
reclears, though, isn't it?
That's what, sorry?
Reclears?
No. Our shortest was like a 1307, and there's, what, like 1334s, 35s?
Never mind. I get what you're
Is
saying.
that 1307 for the Enrage going off? Or
Yeah, for dying.
Yeah, going off.
really?
And so
I mean, this has been in the game for such a long time now, right? Like their
Yeah.
instant servers have been terrible.
has it been like do other fights have this much of a difference?
Like when we wanted to do a speed kill back in our Alexander Prime, the Inception, what the Americans got was like 12 seconds or 10 seconds slower than what we were getting. So it almost made it impossible for us to do it. But so it has been around for a long time.
As far as I know, it's just a thing that happens on every single boss, and it's especially noticeable on bosses where the Enrage is part of their rotation, because it's going to directly affect your Enrage.
Okay.
There were also, I remember in A9, like sometimes the boss was doing extra auto attacks between his other mechanics, depending on what kind of instance you got.
If you look at a boss like Living Liquid, so Living Liquid, this is the same with Manipulator as well. Most of the Gordius bosses, if not all of them, the Enrage casts were just hard coded to a timer. They weren't a part of the actual boss's rotation. That's why, depending on how fast your Living Liquid mechanics were, you would sometimes, after the Ferrofluid, before the Cascade Enrage, you'd sometimes get a set of splashes. And then on Manipulator, and this is why, like, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you win by it, sometimes you lose by it. Like the Manipulator one was, I'm trying to remember the name of the lasers, but I mean, our Manipulator kill way back when was largely aided by us getting the extra cast bar of lasers before the Enrage.
Okay.
So what WoW would do, sorry to bring this up, but what WoW would do to circumvent that is they typically don't do Enrage casts. The bosses will go berserk, and it just means mechanics start one-shotting. So the berserk would be hard-coded to a time, the boss would gain a buff, and say those lasers were going off after I don't remember what Manipulator's Enrage timer was, 14 something. But let's just pick a random number. Say the Enrage was 1410. I really don't remember what it was. But after the timer hit 1410 and those set of lasers were casting, well, the boss would have a 6,000% damage buff, and every laser that went off would one-shot somebody.
Okay. I mean, would you guys prefer that kind of system in the game?
I would.
Yeah, sounds better.
I mean, most likely, yeah. I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, it does also, depending on what, I guess in that case, depending on what mechanic is happening at that point, would also depend on how long the fight is. Because if it's one that hits everyone, right, that would kill everyone one shot, or would it just be start killing people with one at a time? Kind of like maybe
just do both. I mean, leave the hard Enrage AoE raid wide damage wipe or raid wipes that they have in the game now, and also add a static I don't know, damage up to the boss at X seconds.
Okay. Let me think. What else do we have that I want to talk about here, at least in the prep section? Because I don't want to get too much into the details of each fight yet, because I want to get some just general questions out. One of the other questions I had, and this was one of the biggest notable thing that they did, is they stopped using circles. And Gwen told me his power went out. He's going to be back in a second. But are you guys happy with the changes they made with the arena, or would you rather go back to just a circle?
Yeah, I mean, variety is the spice of life, right?
Yeah.
We got a rectangle as well this time. It's pretty good.
Yeah. You also got multi-level with Titan too, right? It shot you up.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that they actually did multi-level because they haven't messed with that in years, and they said they actually weren't going to again. So they got a little daring.
And I think most people liked it.
I
I
really
think it
like
was nice, but it felt kind of clunky with you being able to hit the boss from the back, like hitting it through a rock as a melee defense.
Well,
It's kind of weird aesthetically, but it made sense as a mechanic.
well, I mean, of course they wanted to do that just because people would complain that DPS can't hit anything at any point. They want to limit that down, right? Anytime that you can't hit the boss is boring for DPS.
I love Unmend.
Yeah, pressing the same button over and over is pretty fun.
Okay.
Piercing talon?
So let's talk about that a little bit. Why is the piercing talent a joke? I know what it is, but the people in chat, tell them and enlighten them.
I mean, we could kill the boss with no melee uptime, so yeah.
Wait, and a tank as well. But
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Box 4 was doing his job, healing me and throwing shield lobs. Not hitting the boss, pretty good.
Well, he's
All
hitting
our
the boss.
strats for the final bosses of tiers always have no melee uptime. I think Regento had to do 14 piercing talents this clear, and back in Alphascape I did, I think, 17 throwing daggers on
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, a lot of people were complaining about the DPS check, and you guys are just saying it really wasn't there. Because
If we did the melee uptime strat, we would have never seen that Enrage. Maybe other than the first time us getting there. It is not a tight DPS check. We just did it in a way that made it look hard.
If we were getting the Enrage cast 10 seconds faster, then yeah, we'd have had to look for some more uptime or something. But as it was, we could piercing talon. So maybe we just got lucky. Maybe we won the lottery. Didn't have to optimize.
RNG.
I mean, that's what a lot of people have recommended in the past, is that you are required to have like near close to perfect play when a tier is first released, and then of course as gear gets upgraded, you don't have to be as great. But we'd probably still be cutting it too difficult for the majority of Final Fantasy XIV raiders, right?
For the first tier of a new expansion, probably not the greatest idea.
Mhm.
I mean, like somebody said earlier, I don't know who said it, but I mean, they brought in a ton of new subscribers with Shadowbringers. And I mean, they want them to stay subbed. So they have to think of their enjoyment when they're making this raid. And, you know, they balance it around people learning new jobs. And
Right.
the result is you typically get an easier first tier. We'll see how they flex through Savage Muscle come the second tier in 5.2. We'll see how much different it is then. I'm not expecting it to be too different. I also think people will just be better by then. People, you know, as good as people are right now, people are going to get better at their jobs. It's hardcore and casuals alike.
I mean, do you guys think with the changes they made, the jobs are becoming a lot easier, of course, than they were before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most, yes. Some still
Mostly,
have
yeah.
some nuance.
Like, a lot of people were saying how Gunbreaker is one of the ones that has a high skill ceiling. Is that true?
No.
No.
Just
No.
press your buttons when
No.
they light up.
Oh, okay.
I heard there was a tank who couldn't play Gunbreaker in Prague, but yeah.
I feel like that's a jab at somebody.
I mean, no, I'm just saying I heard
You
whispers,
can't
you know?
take shots at Vox when he's not even here, dude.
The Vox is a paladin god, okay? You leave him alone.
We need his wings. He has to play paladin.
Let's see. The other question. Let's you know what? I'm gonna pull a question from chat just to do it real quick. This is gonna derail a little bit, but wait a minute. This is an NA versus EU question. Do you guys want me to answer this one? The question number 1.
I mean, you're gonna do it anyway, right?
I mean, I'm not. If you guys say no, I'll just not do it.
Just
Why
do
else
it.
would we
Just-
Just do
Oh,
it.
I love
Just
this
do
Okay.
it.
copy pasta. Yeah, this one's amazing.
Yeah, it always bothers me. Well, what always bothers me? Okay, anyways, EU players get double pay time off plus sick leave. Americans get fuck all. EU players also make more hourly. American players get fuck all. EU players work less hours than they work. Americans get worked to death. List goes on. People really need to get this ridiculous EU better than NA thing out of their heads. Do you think NA probably would stomp them if they had the same level footing?
Yep.
It's not our fault we're the superior region, so.
Yeah, I agree with that guy.
Jesus, nothing from you, Layla.
Some of these questions.
Come on. We'll get back to these questions here in a bit. Are you guys ready to start talking about these fights? You're all so
sure, man, let's
quiet
go.
right now. Everybody's so quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're all
Oh,
nervous.
ask us
Shy.
something. What are you doing?
I asking why you're so quiet.
I almost died from the storm.
on.
Because we're waiting for you to ask us a question.
All right, here's a question. Do you guys remember Eden Prime at all?
Yeah.
Two?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Only
Today,
because we had
yeah.
to re-clear it on alts.
I don't remember it, no.
Huh.
I remember there was Delta, and then there was Kefka Delta. That's it.
Okay.
I remember, yeah, putting a
Some
debuff on a
spinning
tank
orbs.
kills them.
Yeah, I remember getting 2 debuffs on me many times. That was fun. Good experience. I like the grey screen.
The gray screen. Are you guys pretty upset that they left that cutscene in?
Yes.
Yeah.
The cutscene's
That whole
awful.
I
that
thought
whole
for
ad phase is a
sure-
meme.
I thought for sure they were gonna cut that, but
Yeah, me too.
I'm not
'cause
upset about
they
it yet.
typically do that. They typically, it's for the normal mode, flashy one-off, and
Mhm.
it fits the theme, and then they usually cut it out.
What I wanna know
we
is-
don't even get Fat Vothri in the EX Primal. Why do we have to go through RP like that in Savage?
Okay.
Yeah, they give us this ship phase with these ads, and they give us this new interrupt button on our tanks and our range players, and then they put it in once in the Savage with a 5-second cast bar. Like, what is this? Like, if you blink, you might miss it. Like, holy shit.
Did you blink today?
Yeah, he.
Wasn't my fault. It wasn't on the hotbar.
I mean, come
Drag it
on.
out.
5 seconds, that's long enough to open your spellbook, right?
I mean, it only lets you interrupt it once. You can't interrupt it a second time, right?
There was only one cast.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
we just didn't interrupt it.
I saw 2 casts. Maybe I did a
Well,
random
there's-
pug group last night.
What
Yeah,
is-
There's
one on each
two
ad.
ads. Yeah.
No, it's the same ad. It cast it twice. Whatever.
No,
it
that's
was.
AoE damage.
So you cast the buff, and then it casts the AoE damage.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I went in completely blind outside of watching streams last night. And we got the ads in the
Sounds like
cooler
Raptor
too.
did too.
True.
And welcome back, Gwen. I know you're having some weather issues over there, right?
Yeah, Storm just had to roll through, but should be fine now.
Okay. So for this first fight, do you guys? I mean, it's better than alt-right, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't cleared in one pool. It took you guys how many pulls each?
I actually don't know.
I had no idea. It
Uh,
was probably one of the best first bosses they've done, though, for a while.
Yeah, it looks.
I feel like it took us one pull too
4?
many. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
The average for the earlier clears were about 50 minutes to 70 minutes or so. So that's only like a handful of pulls. I would have to say.
I know we went in wanting to one shot.
Mhm.
We wanted to just alter rate it, but I think it was 4 pulls. I don't remember.
Oh, we were garbage then. We took more than 4.
5
Maybe
maybe.
like- maybe like
maybe
7.
5.
It was between 4 to 5. Yeah. Because I think on our second last poll, it was just one person messing up the spinning orbs,
Right. Yes.
and then we just went in.
Who
after
were
it
they?
cleared.
We can shame them.
Yo, that was
It
me.
was Sophia, right? Yeah.
It was
okay.
me. I didn't realize it snapshot afterwards. I thought you went to the end of the cast bar and move, but that's not how it goes.
Yeah. This is what happens if you prog with a fucking black mage.
Yes,
I moved
yes.
early, not late. I mean, that's the opposite of what you'd expect.
Okay, I thought you meant you were standing middle and then tried to move to your spot late.
Nope. Other way around.
How long did it take you guys to figure out the mechanics of that fight, like the orbs? That was the main thing to figure out, right?
No, definitely not. The orbs were the easiest to figure out.
Kind of
Right?
solved in normal mode.
Did you? Orbs were pretty simple in normal mode.
I mean, the
They
whole
work
the
the
whole thing
same.
about the orbs. Well, I guess which orbs are you talking about? Sorry,
The
Uh,
ones that you killed for the meteor, right?
well,
The
you're
spinning
talking about the
ones.
spinning ones.
yeah, the one that spins and shoots lasers at you.
Well, I mean, you can bait orbs from normal mode, and you need to be hitting meteors. So 1+1 = 2. You put things next to the meteors so you can attack them. And you do so in a way that doesn't get you killed.
Hmm.
It's just kind of like it's a 2 to 3 step thought process that you should be able to come to that conclusion after seeing it once.
I didn't do it normal mode enough because I didn't even know they targeted you in normal mode. I thought it was just random lines.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure any group that was preparing for Prague figured that out pretty quickly. But then it was also publicized by the JP blogs that was how the mechanic actually worked.
Did you? So I gotta ask follow up on that. Do you guys pay attention a lot to JP blogs and stuff when you guys are going through the raid?
How do you
No.
wait going through Prague?
Yeah, going through
No.
Prague, just trying to
Going
like.
through Prague, definitely not. But like going through prep, I mean, sure, you're always looking for anything that maybe somebody saw something different than you.
Okay. Did you guys watch any streams at all while you guys were progging, or you just focus completely on your group?
There's no time, dude. Short
Yeah,
staff
there's
is
no
way too
time.
short.
I only had time to eat more bananas during Prague, not to watch streams.
How many bananas did you have?
Yeah,
I
way too
had,
many.
yeah, way too many bananas.
You know you can die
My
from
br-
that, right? You eat too many bananas.
Wait,
The
really?
only thing that
Yeah,
died
I
was
heard you get
Titan, not
cancer
me.
from it.
What?
It's too much potassium. I think is bad for your body or something like that. I don't know.
My breakfast was bananas and raspberries.
Sorry, really quick derail there. But so the reason a lot of people you guys don't want to stream is because you don't want people to see kind of your strategy as well while you're going through and getting hints from what you guys are doing. But you guys aren't really looking at other people's stream when you're doing it either, though, right?
Because nobody who's streaming is where we are.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you could have knights looking at stuff and telling you things that
Right.
you don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
we kind of know that none of the top teams are going to be doing that for us to actually get anything from. So it's pointless at that point.
I do feel, I mean, I've talked about this topic with my team a lot, that like I feel on a Savage tier, streaming matters very little. This is just my take. This is not my team's take.
Yeah.
Because I feel that Savage is more execution than puzzle.
Mhm.
Where streaming is a much bigger deal. It's typically the ultimates, where there's a lot more puzzle involved, and your speed at clearing the boss typically comes down to how fast you solve puzzle. And it's a game of information at that point. Savage typically, I mean, it's just execution. Whichever team executes better wins.
Right. For example, when we go back to Uwu, and we talk about that puzzle at the very beginning, that would have been bad information for other people to have before, like as soon as you guys figure
Talking
out.
about awakening them?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, it's an example, yeah. There were some streamers that did. I mean, that's an example, I think, of my point even. Ooh, specifically, like you have 3 different primals that you have to solve the awakening puzzle for. You can be working on one primal and letting a stream group work on another primal, and then once they figure it out, oh, you have 2 of them figured out at the time spent of only figuring out one of them.
Yeah, we got world first there, and we definitely stole Titan Awakening from a stream.
Which
Yeah,
stream
we
are you guys gonna say?
Some JP
Probably the
stream, I
JP
think.
horror
Yeah.
stream, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Love horror, man. It's okay. All right. So back to Eden. Sorry, we were on Eden Prime here. If it wasn't orbs, what was the most difficult mechanic to piece together within that hour or so you guys spent on it?
Probably when the healers get the thing they pass, right, when he's awake. And we kept putting it on the tank, and the tanks just kept dying.
Is it like a prey?
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
you
it's the
will.
prey that starts in the healers.
Like the only thing to figure out on that fight are the different markers, like when you have to stack a DPS with another person, and the debuffs passing, like Bevan said, and also stacking for the beam to reduce the vulnerability up. So would otherwise put like a 40-second debuff on the tank.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you guys rank this as a starter fight? Like one of the best
I really
starter
liked
fights,
it.
or
I thought it was one of the better ones, yeah.
Yeah, definitely one of the best ones. we've
Everybody
done.
liked Chaos, but I didn't prog alpha, so I don't really know. But
Chaos was
the
so
ones
bad.
I don't know then. I think of the ones that I've did since like okay, so my favorite if we're gonna just classify it by savage bosses, my favorite savage boss is still A5.
absolutely.
That's still my favorite savage opening boss. But
16.
that's a different style of savage, so I don't even know if you compare them. Since Stormblood, I would say this was probably my favorite opener. Sure.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. That because I mean, going back to alt-right and to A9 and everything, it was like a real downfall for the beginning of Savage tiers. I think they need to have at least a level
Refurbisher.
over. Which one?
Are you talking about A9?
Yeah, A9. The
I think
big
Refurbisher.
tower. Yeah, Refurbisher. Yeah.
Definitely not as good as A5. Nowhere close.
No, that was one of the worst. I'm sorry. A9 and what was it? 01, right? Those two were the bottom line.
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, I personally would rank A9 worse than O1, even though O1 was just a normal mode. I just dislike A9 that much.
Didn't people take ages to kill that fight though? A9 compared to other first bosses? I'm pretty sure they did. I remember us doing it then, like a group like 20 minutes later doing it, and then groups like an hour later almost. Whereas nowadays, like everyone and their mums fucking killed the first boss in like 10 minutes.
So, you guys would definitely say at least that the first fight was more difficult than the extremes?
I mean, I guess like difficulty is such a weird. I mean, it depends how you classify difficulty, right?
The
Like,
extremes were a joke though, this expansion.
I mean, there's no way it was harder. I mean, there's no way it was easier than Titania, and I don't like the only thing you could say was quote unquote hard about it in a sense is taxing your movement if you want to be not shit uptime. And I don't think anything in E1 is easier than that. So
Okay.
probably.
Okay. Did you guys expect, like me and my friend Zeno here, that there was a possibility that these bosses were going to be flipped, or were you set on it was absolutely going to be the same?
There's no way that it was going to be flipped.
Yeah,
Not a
literally no
chance.
They have
I mean-
Titan. They're not gonna make Titan like one of the first bosses, are they?
The
They
thought
love
crosses your
Titan.
mind, but it should be gone as
Titan-
soon as it went in there.
Titan exists to like make people cry.
Did it make you guys cry though?
No,
Okay. Okay.
we're big boys now. We've cleared Uwu.
All
Beaten our demons.
So you guys were anticipating exactly what order these bosses were going to come on. You weren't expecting anything too crazy to happen, like some crazy fifth boss or something was going to be at it. You knew it was pretty much going to be just 4 bosses.
Pretty much. I think the only
Yeah.
question was maybe like what were they gonna do in Titan? Because, you know, what they were saying about not doing door bosses, but like something special. Like it was kind of like, what kind of thing are we gonna happen? And it played out the way I expected, honestly. I didn't expect something grand. Like Titan was exactly what I was kind of anticipating.
Okay.
And then as the servers go up, I mean, you have the leaks of Titan's maximum form in every single Discord. So I mean, you know right then that Titan's last boss. So there's really no way that they would have ever flipped them.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's do one question from chat real quick, just to throw it in there and derail things again. Oh my God, is this really a question here? Chat, what are you doing? Just
These are pretty bad.
these aren't really good. What? All right, I'm gonna give you guys a chance here to ask some good questions, and then I'll come back to it. We're gonna go to the next fight here.
Do you think that's really Cleese that wrote that?
Absolutely.
How much did you pay Entropy to, or how much did Entropy pay Liz? I fucked up your name. Sorry, to leave Roxa. How much?
What do you mean he paid us to come back?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, of course. I was like, please take me back, get me out of here.
Yeah, it was probably good. All right. So going on to this next fight, what do you guys think about this as the second boss going in?
Boring.
Really?
Voidwalker?
My least favorite fight. I hate it.
Sorry, I'm so silent for a second because I have no idea who you're pitching the questions to.
Oh, I'm pitching it to
Uh,
everyone. I try to do an open question. That's probably my mistake. I should probably start pointing you guys out. Gwen, tell me why you didn't like Voidwalker.
We have respectful gamers here, dude. Nobody wants to talk over each
It's
other.
completely not respectful.
And
Like
then
before the
there's
show
Bevan.
started, like you guys were going off the rails, and now everybody's all calm and nice and everything.
I mean, it's just not interesting at all to me. Like, the arena's not cool, the mechanics aren't cool. Like, it's proteans and like boys flying around giving you affirmity. Like, with everything that people hate. Like, I don't like petrifactions, and they throw it at me left and right. Like, it's not even hard or interesting or engaging. You just, oh, petrifaction, look away. Like, give me something to do with these mechanics instead of solving them the way that you would solve them on paper.
Okay.
All right, so that's the summoner POV. Now let me give you the tank POV. Those boys that he summons for the tank is a fucking
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yep. Not
Okay,
fun.
so my goal is I don't want to move the boss because then I make folds. So I'm sitting there, trying to find magic pixels to not get debuffs without moving the boss. So it's a totally different experience for the tank. I liked it. I liked the debuff management. I mean, we had a lot of fun with it in normal mode, like trying to figure out what they're going to do with the debuffs. We weren't sure if it was going to be a situation where it seems that they went the route of they're just going to debuff vomit more quickly, and obviously they have the extra debuff. We were kind of anticipating, okay, they're going to give the same targets multiple debuffs as opposed to just giving everyone, you know, long-lasting debuffs that are going to overlap with mechanics much later. So we were kind of brainstorming how we were going to plan for, okay, this person gets 3 different party soak debuffs that have varying timers, and this person gets dark fires that have a varying timer with a hellwind that they also received. So you're gonna have to balance that. So I think preparation for Voidwalker was a lot of fun, and that to me made the boss fun. But the thing that was also kind of miserable was just dodging boys coming in left and right as a tank.
Entropy, and I'm gonna ask Spencer the question. What you guys think of the fight?
After doing it on Savage, I think I'm a little disappointed. I was really excited for it after normal mode because they can do a lot with the layering of those timed mechanics, but I don't feel like it really did it. And I was quite disappointed at the end of the fight where he just spams his one attack and then you have to do the triple dance. I didn't find that interesting at all.
Okay, so everyone's expectations were let down a little bit from what we thought we might be seeing, because I mean there was a lot of things that you could guess and maybe predict that they could do with the time mechanic to make it really interesting, but you guys just feel maybe they didn't go far enough with it.
I think if like
Well, it's the
Voidwalker
second fight as well.
Voidwalker was a fight that deserved to be a third boss because they could have done a ton of
Hmm.
Agree.
but they're limited by the fact that it's the second boss.
Right.
It's one of the cooler mechanics that they've done, like real talk. The spell and waiting is one of the cooler mechanics they've done for a Savage fight in a long time.
How much
It just
RNG
didn't
is
reach its potential.
with that? I haven't really gotten to that fight yet. Is there not a lot of RNG? It's pretty scripted.
Oh, I don't think there's any RNG at all.
It's yeah.
Yeah, there's
scripted.
some. There's a little bit. There's like some 50/50.
Who gets what debuffs, sort of
Oh,
thing.
sure.
And if
Yeah.
it's a knockback or a getaway, right?
I think there's only the one that can change.
Because that's one of the things that I was kind of thinking about before, is that if they really want to make these fights interesting, they start adding in a lot of different RNG elements. But I think throughout the entire tier, was there not a lot of RNG? It's pretty much straight scripted fights.
Scripted in rotation. Like if you want to make
Mhm.
things interesting, then you have RNG rotations. Like to me, when you look at Leviathan, and I don't mean to segue off of Voidwalker, but when you look at Leviathan, the target selections for tsunami debuffs, some of them being random, does not make a random encounter. Random encounters are when the actual rotations themselves are affected.
is that possibly something they should be adding to these Savage tier raids? It's just some sort of we don't really know what's coming up, but we need to mentally prepare what it could be, and then have everybody a little bit more reactive in the fight.
I mean, they could. There are some precautions they have to take and implement into the game if they're going to do that. First of all, I mean, the rotations would have to line up toward the end of the boss, or else you get more Enrage memes. And then, I mean, my opinion, one of the best ways to handle that is just go with the WoW route with the Berserk.
Mm-hmm. Entropy, would you rather see more scripted or more RNG?
I feel like they'll try doing RNG at some point. I'm not sure if they would try it on a last boss immediately, because there's a lot of things to consider in terms of if they do random mechanics, how quickly are the times between tank busters? Is it going to be fine for every tank? Do people have all the tools available for the specific mechanic order that can happen? So it's just more to think about from a developer standpoint.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know.
I'd say from the standpoint of a healer, if it's going to be scripted rotation, they got to make stuff hit harder. Because at the moment, you can the healing kits are so overloaded right now. You can play reactively in pretty much every situation and be fine.
Okay.
So if it's random, it'd be more interesting. If it stays scripted, it's a kind of a joke.
That's something that I just want to see a little bit more often, because it just sucks knowing that I go into a fight, and once you know it, it doesn't feel that interesting anymore. I mean, when you guys start clearing these fights again, how many times have you guys cleared it on reclears? Entropy?
Well, which fight?
All of them, the tier for this one. Have you gone in again after clearing it the first time?
On our odds on the first two. But that's about it.
Okay. And was it kind of boring at that point because you feel like you already had the fight figured out and you just kind of go in there and...
Now we had to learn the fight again because none of us could remember what happened.
Yeah, honestly, it was boring. It was alright though.
Layla and team over here, have you guys cleared it more than once so far?
I have no. We haven't zoned in.
We haven't been back in.
Sindolf was at Evo, so...
Yeah, I just got back.
Oh, yeah. How'd you do at Evo?
0-2. Drowned in my pools.
Sorry, dude. I was hoping you'd have something... Well, actually, if you...
I wasted all my week progging Savage instead of practicing for BB tag.
Was there anything with, I guess, this one that you were like, this is a major puzzle we had to figure out? I might as well just ask you guys that. And I'll ask...
Voidwalker?
Voidwalker, yeah, Layla.
No. Like, I'm pretty sure any group worth their salt knew about Hellwind beforehand. So you go into it knowing that there's going to be a 4th debuff.
Mhm.
And, you just play expecting that. I think the Flare was the, surprise of the day. The GA 100 type mechanic, if that's more, I guess, relatable. But managing those, it's very systematic, I feel. You can I mean, it's kind of like Iasa said, but this isn't just for healing the damage. I mean, all of the mechanics in that fight you can play reactionary. You don't have to really be very precautionary from much of them. The benefit of taking a precautionary approach usually just comes down to you get better melee.
Okay.
Less spears, I guess. I don't know.
Less spears. Fair. Entropy, did you guys trip up on any of the mechanics at all in that tier or that turn?
On Voidwalker?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
It was very basic.
Because that one, if we go back and look at the times on it, that one took you guys maybe an hour or so to clear.
It was very quick for a second fight.
I think we spent less
fell over.
time than one, I think. I'm not sure.
I was gonna say that as well. I think we might have spent less time on it than we spent on one.
Honestly, Frosty, like it's such a blur to me, dude. Like I don't remember 1 and 2 at all. I'm a really bad spokesperson.
All right. No, it's fair. I mean, you guys are going through this so quick again. Each fight, you're only seeing about an hour of it before you clear it and go on to the next one. And that's probably the difficulty level they want to leave it at, I'm assuming, for newer players, I guess, especially with Shadowbringers. And this is a little bit of a tangent here, but this is something I absolutely have noticed has been this expansion. There are a lot of players who absolutely feel like they've never played a game before. and I see them in like experts and everything else. And it's okay. It's fine to have new players that don't understand how to play the game, but there's definitely an obvious skill gap between us and other people coming into the game now than I've seen before. Like the lowest I've seen the floor difficult, or lowest I've seen the player skill floor is this expansion. Would you guys agree with that at all, or am I just imagining that?
Maybe that's you just getting better, Frosty.
Maybe I need to be in the world race.
I mean, I've definitely noticed a very, very low skill. Like, I don't know what it is, but yeah, I feel something is changed with that. Like, just when it comes to like roulettes or like pugging sometimes, or like just today, like just before the show, I had like one of the worst try roulettes I've ever had, and then like half the team just left, and I was like, okay, and I left as well, and then I got one of the lower level trials, and it was easy, but.
I mean, I recently had an expert dungeon where we die every single boss.
Yep.
And it was strange. It's like a lot of people are looking and they're just wanting to press their buttons, and if they can see something happening, then they might react to it. But if it's not something that's super obvious, they always get hit by it, and they don't learn and they don't figure it out. And that's the level that we're trying to entertain as well right now. But hopefully, you know, that bottom level goes up a little bit as the expansion goes on, but we're definitely starting with a pretty low floor for players coming in. And so I don't know how they're going to even do Savage.
I can tell you this, Frosty. I was doing Titanian normal mode on my alt yesterday for the story.
Mhm.
One of the healers gets knocked off the edge in the ad phase because it has like the telegraph knockback. And the other healer starts spamming question marks in chat, like, how'd you die? And then begins to hard cast res the healer during the next knockback, and he's at the edge of the arena and gets knocked off himself. And I'm just like, how the hell did you die as well? Like, what's going on here?
And they're asking that question because they generally they don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like he didn't
Worst
know what
thing
the
is,
knockback
like,
marker was.
You can't even help these people, right? Because you tell them, and then they start telling you, "Oh, don't tell me what to do," and then they flame you. You can't do anything. Then they report you because they
And
say
they
you're being
apparently
toxic
report
to them.
you, and then
you
you
get
get banned before
Yeah.
Prague, and then your name is Violent Destruction.
Yeah. Man, so it is kind of weird, and I'm okay again with these players coming in, but they are very, very I don't want to say sensitive. I feel like that's the wrong word.
Vocal.
Vocal is a good one. It's just a lot of people have this nervous tension of I don't want to look bad when I come into a group. And, you know, of course, I'm talking about this while I'm on a show of people who race for the world first clears. But I really hope that kind of goes away. And that becomes into a better situation of like, hey, I'm not afraid to mess up because that's just part of it. I just need to figure out how to be better next time. Anyway, sorry for that tangent there. It just kind of concerns me with how Savage and everything else is going to play out, because I know Square Enix does react to the community having issues clearing content. And so I don't want them to make Savage easier. I want them to make it more difficult as the expansion goes on.
I'm sure that's their goal. I wouldn't even call Edenscape, whatever our first raid tier here. I wouldn't deem it a failure.
Mhm.
It did what it was supposed to do, and I don't think that I think it would be very counterproductive to what they want to do to make it any, I guess, easier or simpler going forward.
Right.
Because they're trying to keep their player base, and they're expecting their player base to get more comfortable with the expansion.
Mhm. I'm hoping they're expecting that. That's what I want.
Surely they must be.
All right, so going into this third fight, did this fight at all, or you again, for everyone watching, some of our comments might be a little pessimistic in a way, but not entirely. This is from the point of view of someone who's played the game for a very long time and is extremely good at the game. This isn't the average point of view. So don't take it with that grain of salt, I suppose. But with that being said, and I'm gonna open this up, I'm gonna point at somebody. Bevan, what did you think about Leviathan?
Where do I start? That fight is hard.
Yeah?
There's one mechanic, right? Oof. Let me tell you.
This guy. This
The,
motherfucker.
the amount of wipes. No, I'm being serious. The amount
Okay.
of wipes we had to this one little debuff boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. This was a
Yeah.
4-hour fight. This was 4 times as long as the other fights, at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, which one?
Probably
The one where you
an
had the
hour.
line and knocked us off
Yeah.
the platform, or?
Oh, I mean.
All right.
Yeah.
Somebody besides Bevan, Rafter, could you go?
What?
What was the question?
The question was, what you think
what was the
about
answer?
was Leviathan? What did you think about Leviathan as you?
I think a lot of the fight was pretty boring, but they did have some good parts, like the what's the thing called? What puts all the debuffs on you? Like I think that was okay.
Tsunami?
Yeah, that's the thing. That was okay. But the second one especially, probably one of the mechanic that took the
Hello
longest to
Water
figure out.
2. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we're very bad at Hello Water too.
Yeah, Hello Water 2. That took a while for us to
And that was probably at least
execute
like
it
2
properly.
hours of those 4 hours.
Yeah.
'cause
The rest
we're
of the
too
fight
bad at-
though was a premium.
Mhm.
You didn't think
But
the
it was
way
okay.
they were handling the platform was interactive enough? It was pretty just straightforward, and you didn't have to think about it too much.
I guess.
It was alright.
I was
pretty fun.
disappointed that it didn't break in more ways, I suppose. But it was
Like it was actually like 9 platforms, and you could break it in different.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask this to Sophia. What did your team think about Leviathan?
Obviously, I think we did pretty well on it. Although when we went through it the first time, we thought we actually were slow, but we apparently weren't when we saw it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall it was a pretty good fight. That's just my opinion. I don't really know what other people think about it.
I think the fight
It was
should
a
have
footage
started-
fight.
I think
It
the fight should
was-
have started with Refreshing Waters. I don't think you need it. Like you don't need that boss pre-Refreshing Waters. It's just normal mode pre-Refreshing
Mm.
Waters. Refreshing Waters turns it into the Savage Leviathan.
Mhm.
If the fight started there and then maybe had a little bit of more mechanics at the very end, like maybe even a Tsunami 3 or something like that, might have been a bit more well received. What I thought was a kind of a meme in that fight were the Maelstrom phases. I mean, they might as well not exist. It's just free wait for cooldowns to come back phase.
It's recovery time.
Yeah.
Did you not have many heavy gamers?
We did not have many heavy gamers. They were very lightweight and respectful of me telling them to not be near the fucking puddles. I think that Tsunami 1 is just kind of like an intro to, hey, this is how this new debuff works. What I was expecting, because if you go through the normal modes and you look at your ACT of the normal mode, the way that I'm not going to remember the name of the ability that breaks the floor, something undersea. I don't remember the name of it.
Quake.
Undersea quake. So the two heads are operating independently when they're breaking the sides. So I had assumed that this was going to mean, okay, well, when the two heads are breaking the sides, that could also mean they could break whatever part of the platform they wanted. One head could break the middle, and the other head could break a side. And oh, maybe that's what's going to happen in Savage. And we're going to have to identify that and make sure we're on that side of the map. And then we're also going to have to get comfy with dealing with mechanics where 8 players are standing in a line on one side. So you start preparing for things like that. But then it seemed like the undersea quakes were very kind of straightforward. Where I thought that the fight got interesting was the second tsunami, and then also the something smokers. What is the name of that mechanic?
You're talking about the puddles, right?
Yeah, and Sil, I mean, Sil was one of the people. Sil and Svi, I think, were the 2 people interacting with that mechanic the most. So I mean, they can give their opinions on it. But I thought that solving of that was probably the most interesting of the part of the fight. I wouldn't use the word hardest, but I would use the word the most interesting. The only thing that I didn't like is about the fight as a whole is it's literally range thresholds the boss.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's a good way to design a boss, but I'm undecided. Sil and Sphia can talk about the smokers mechanic though, because they're the ones who interacted with it the most.
Yeah, Sil, do you mind talking? Arthas wants to hear you talk.
Sure. I think for the smokers, when we first saw it, um, obviously we didn't know what was going on, and it was kind of rough because we just figured, oh yeah, don't stack them together because they'll just blow up.
Well, we didn't know that initially. There was
Yeah,
a lot of
initially.
speculation why they were exploding initially, because in the footage, well, I had shot a tank beam at a puddle, so I'm wondering, oh, is that why it exploded? But then, once you take it down frame by frame and you start seeing what's actually causing them to explode, you can start problem solving, like Scylla said.
Yeah. I think it was Sphere that also was the one to bring up that it was range baited. So it was a good call on that because from the footage, every time the two furthest player would always get it. So it was kind of pretty quick to discern from that point. And I
We only
think
need to see it twice to figure out the mechanic, which isn't too bad. But
yeah, once we saw the mechanic play itself out, like it kind of just like it kind of rolled over.
I think the hardest mechanic for us to figure out was actually the jets in the second tsunami, because
The tank
it's the tank jets. It's not necessarily a difficult
range
mechanic. It's
threshold's the
just
boss.
well, the tank jet isn't necessarily like it's not the range threshold that makes it difficult. It's the fact that there's a stack right before it. So it's really difficult to get good footage of that mechanic and the way that it actually interacts because everyone's standing on top of everyone right when it goes off. So you don't know who it's targeting, why it's targeting them. All you know is it's hitting everyone in the stack. And then you've got people saying, oh, you turned around when you really didn't.
I think
Thinking
what
it's
tips
like
you
a
off the
cursed
most
voice.
is the timing of the mechanics going off. I think the
Yeah.
timing, because it's a savage, I think the timing tells the most info out of everything in that set of mechanics. Like a savage phase is not going to require the I don't want to call it precision movement, but the level of movement required for a tank to stack and then also displace himself far away enough from the group. And also when you do try that, you notice that the cone snapshots way earlier than that's possible. So that alone right there tells you that it's a 3-3 split required. So once you have that information, it's not super hard to problem solve it.
Okay. Entropy.
I liked Black Smokers more.
Okay. Entropy. Do you have any other hearing what they were saying or anything? Can you relate kind of what they were talking about? Or
With the tank shooty beam thing, right? Like in Tsunami 2, yeah. But like the black smoker thing, no, we just winged that and just did it. It was
What even is the black smoker thing?
I think it's a
don't
tether
understand
at the end.
it's the tether the range
Tether
gets,
on the
right? And
Oh.
then you just sit in the puddle, right? And then you get out the puddle and then
Don't
you
worry, I was also sitting here like, what the hell is black smoker? I've
yeah,
never
same,
heard this in my life.
same. I had to
It's
Google
the
it.
puddle one with the range baited tether and
I discovered if you stand too close and the puddle drops on you, you get flung off the platform. So that was a thing.
Yeah, our side was clean, okay. Rafter, our side was good, right?
Yeah. It was the other side letting us down.
Was it? I don't know.
Team Vox wasn't up to scratch.
well, I mean, to just go into a little bit more, what held you guys back the most on that fight? You think? Entropy.
Us?
Yeah.
Tsunami 2, right?
We were too stupid to
tank
figure
mechanic.
out that you needed to shoot the jets at the tanks. I think that was
Like we had some
wiped for
screenshots,
ages.
right, where I think we got we got knocked off the platform,
Mhm.
and then the beams from the people that they had to aim went in like some very dumb directions, and then it like confused us because like it looked like you could actually bait them, but it's like aiming at where our corpses were, like off the platform, like midair or something. I don't know. Like it was so terrible. So it took us so long to like figure something out, and then we just randomly had me and Vox run to the opposite side of the arena, and they were like baited at each other. So because I think the other person that had it was down there as well. And then we knew it was range based after that.
Are you guys happy with how they handled it, or are you just kind of like, meh, you know what? It was the third one. We didn't care. Just go straight to Titan and see what we could do. Like at the end of it, were you like, oh, that was a really good fight, or were you like, okay, whatever, and on?
I mean, it was alright. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I don't know if it was a good fight, but they had good mechanics in it. I think a lot of the rest of the fight though was pretty boring. Like nothing really happened.
I
Like
like
it was predictable.
I like the Black Smokers phase just because it's a non-linear solution. I mean, tsunami phases are just linear solutions. This person needs to get hit by this debuff. This person can't have this debuff. With Black Smokers, you get to play around with positioning, who does what's the best for damage. I don't know, just more interesting to me. I still think the boss should start with the Refreshing Waters buff, though. I don't think anything before Refreshing Waters is savage at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So I
Yeah.
really like doing these debuff format mechanics, and I think the most interesting iterations of those are the ones like Hello World, where you can have different solutions, whereas in Leviathan, Second Tsunami basically only has one solution. You can maybe position yourself a bit differently, but everything happens in the same order.
Mm.
Then we
The one thing I didn't like about
Sure.
Leviathan, just before we finish here,
Yeah.
outside of Black Smokers, everything felt like a direct rip from either 011 or 012. Everything. And even going to his buff form that he gets where he does left and right back to back the same way that Omega does in 011. Tsunami was just Hello World Light. It all felt the same. There was a Pantocrator, like literally Pantocrator happened again as well, where you bait your AoEs and there's just persistent raid-wide damage. It felt very uninspired, a lot of it.
So that fight going into Titan next. Do you guys want me to look at a question real quick, and we can ask one question before we get to Titan?
Sure.
All right.
This was something spicy, Frosty.
Something spicy. Which one is spicy here? Do you guys have one that you saw that looks spicy?
Oh, let me look.
All right, I got one. This is for Entropy. How
They're
much
all
of
EU spicy. There's no NA spicy.
Yeah, you guys get some NA spicy ones here.
Goku's on it.
Okay, good.
Oh, I like this one. Yeah.
How much of an advantage were the houses for Entropy? Did they get you a faster crafted gear than NA had?
Okay, so that's
Take
a
it away,
two-part.
Evan.
That's a two-part question, right?
Okay.
So the first one regarding the houses, right? I feel like we could have min-maxed it a little bit more, right? Because we had what did we have? We had the FC chest in a pretty bad position, right? So we had to move more to get the gear, and like menders and materia melters, they weren't right there by the door. That would have been good. And the crafted gear, we got that pretty late. We'll just leave it there, I guess. Crafted team was pretty shit, yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, yeah, they were garbage. Every single one of them. Well, that was
Take away some of their
recruited to
houses,
craft
I
our gear.
guess.
Yeah, they don't deserve them.
We don't need any law and drama here. Anyways,
Oh my god.
let's get into
Ouch.
Titan now. Let's get into Titan.
Damn, they
Titan.
didn't even refute it, dude. They just let him rock.
Yeah. So you guys getting in there, were you? I guess the experience of first doing Titan, going in and just saying, "Hey, this is Titan," seeing the mechanics as you start off and you're being introduced to it. Did it feel like it was going to be a difficult fight, like an exciting fight to get into? And I'll aim this over at Gwen.
Well, first of all, as soon as I zoned into Titan, my computer or my game crashed. So that was so that was already exciting. But I don't know. It's an interesting question because the first phase of Titan is the hardest part of Titan. So you're going through this entire phase, and like it wasn't super difficult, but it set a pace, and then you get to Maximus, and it completely goes down the drain. So I liked the first phase. I was excited to see what was coming.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So really, the first phase kind of amped you guys up, and then throughout there, it kind of seemed like it just got easier and easier.
I mean, in my opinion, yeah, because like, we saw the transition on like I think we had like 2 tanks alive or maybe just like 1 tank alive for the transition the first time, and like that was super exciting, obviously, and we had no idea what to expect. But like when you're in phase 1, like there's just like your positioning is really important. Like there's not really room for fuck ups, especially when you're making sure that you have enough damage to kill the boss. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just slightly out of position, like you will die or you will get a damage down, like it's a lot of precise, easy but precise movement, and you just have to like stay on your toes a little bit. You can't fall asleep with the keyboard.
And a lot of people actually say they rather have these difficult mechanics near the beginning of it instead of near the end of it, because if you have it at the end, then you go through all this work just to get to the end, and you die, and you have to
There's a
stop.
difference between at the end and after 3 minutes.
Okay. So you think maybe after 3 minutes would have been a good time?
I mean, I enjoyed P2, but I mean, I don't know if I speak for everybody. I thought the victory lap. I thought P3 was literally just a victory.
Yeah, it was.
The whole thing was fun.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. Like I liked it a lot actually.
Okay.
I liked it more than X Death. I could say that much.
So you guys are very happy the way they handle this, to where they're not doing a door boss and it's a straight fight.
I
Very
hate
happy. Yeah.
but I think, and this is probably just because it's a first tier, I think a 13.5 minute fight is probably a little short. I was definitely expecting a 14 plus,
Well,
but it might just be because it's first tier.
yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, because this entire time everybody's watching streams and they're trying to keep up with everything, and then we saw a team get down to 2%, and we haven't heard any clears yet, and we're like, Jesus Christ, there has to be something, right? There has to be something after this, but there wasn't. So it felt like, for some reason, maybe we just kind of got used to it, but it was lacking, and how much they could have offered us for that fight. Entropy, what do you guys feel the same way?
They just needed to tune up the last phase. They need to give it more stuff at the end, and it would have been fine.
I mean, the big
But,
bonus is that they didn't do a repeat, right? Where you do the mechanics and you do the exact same mechanics again throughout the rest of the
Like
fight.
it's good they've moved away from some of these old ideas, like always having a door boss and always having the boss repeat. Like just mechanics you've seen exactly the same as before after like half. But they could have capitalized on it more and put more interesting things towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they stick to doing things like this, we can have good last bosses in the future. Just like they demonstrated the willingness to not have these stupid mechanic repeats in this tier, and maybe they'll do better in the next tier on actually making it something interesting.
So pretty much go with the same concept that they have right now for the raid and just kind of extend upon it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The only
one
thing
thing-
that happens at the end of the fight is that's the one heal check they put in this tier, where the boss just starts, well, both of them, they just start spamming AoEs at the part. So that's your heal check, and if you're not a healer, then I guess there's not a whole lot going on. If you're a healer, it's pretty stressful. I guess at least in like the week 1 scenario where you haven't mapped everything out,
Or day
and
one.
you're just spamming sucker and praying you don't run out of MP.
I mean, I think anytime the group like a group bugging gets to the last phase, it's gonna be like it's gonna surprise the healers how much damage is amped up there compared to the previous phase.
Are you guys
One thing
hap-
that I'll
go ahead.
say that I like about P3, and I only am just now realizing this, is I've been preaching for them to kind of do phasing where phasing is not new mechanic to new mechanic to new mechanic, because then that means as DPS increases, you just start skipping mechanics of the fight. The one thing I like about P3 is it's kind of the same set of mechanics, just going through them multiple times. I've tweeted this before, but I compare it to, say, like an FCOB phase, turn 13 phase, where there's only like 3 to 4 mechanics of the phase, but they just constantly cycle between those. I think that's a really good way to design bosses. It's been proven in the past to be successful for bosses. So that design approach, and that's definitely the approach they took to P3. They want DPS increasing to not take away mechanics of the fight. You're just going to see less of them. So if they take that approach and keep doing it in all their tiers, it's going to work out really well. Just give them for a final phase of the fight, make the other roles panic as much as the healers had to.
Okay, and not throw piercing talons throughout the end.
I mean, if you can get away with chucking 17 piercing talons or however many, then yeah, it probably needs a bit more responsibility.
Okay. I mean, this is something that a lot of healers were complaining about in the previous expansion and everything else, is that they never felt like they really had to heal. It was always just kind of a thing. But this last fight kind of put them in a situation to where they really needed to focus on that. Do you think
It's mostly just like a raw healing check though, since it's just AoE into AoE into like tumults into Earth and Fury, which is like Omega, and
Mhm.
it's just like a raw healing requirement, which isn't necessarily that interesting as a heal. But I don't know. I feel like they've overloaded the healing kit so much that they're gonna find it difficult to actually engage healers in this expansion, regardless of what they do?
Gwen, is
So
that
much free healing that they need to exhaust before they actually make us cast something.
Oh yeah. Gwen Pie, is that you in chat just to make sure?
It is indeed.
All right. You can post now.
Uh,
Sorry. So yeah, I mean they gave healers a lot to actually heal with. I mean, when you guys start having this fight very optimized at the end with tank cooldowns, with everything, do you think it's still going to be difficult for healers once it's laid out really well?
I mean, we probably won't.
You're not going to see them.
See it. Like we're not going to see that part of the fight.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that like 13.5 minutes is too short. By the way, I think it felt too short for this fight because the pacing was pretty slow.
That's
in
true.
terms of
P2's
how
pacing
many
was pretty
mechanics were
slow.
happening simultaneously or in sequence.
So many minutes actually go into the tectonic. What is it called?
Uplift.
Not the one where he smashes and breaks the platform.
Oh, right.
Like
Plate something?
Yeah, something plate.
Mm-hmm.
So many minutes go into that it does feel pretty slow as a result. I mean,
Okay.
his wind up is so slow.
Maybe 13.5 is not too short. Maybe they just need to make it a little bit more exciting or a little bit more engaging.
I think P2's pacing didn't match P1's. I think that's probably the biggest problem.
I think I'm correct in saying that like Brute Justice, like A8S, was about a 13-minute fight. But if you look at that fight, there was a hell of a lot more going on than there is in Titan at like any given time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, that's a fair comparison. Again, when we talk about where we think fight should be, we always kind of go back to Midas too. I mean, that's where we would like it to be, but honestly, as long as they give us Ultimate, where it's at right now is probably good for the community, you think, right? For Savage?
It could be a step up, I think.
Step up?
I think so.
think
I
they
mean,
stepped up the second and third bosses at least.
yeah.
Okay. Layla, you were saying something there too, right?
Titan is probably a fine boss for everyone wanting to get into Savage Raid.
So it's good to get people's, because we didn't really talk about this too much, I guess, is coming at this from your perspective and seeing all these mechanics before, it makes sense. But a person who's never played this game going into Savage, all these mechanics are new. Would you think that it's good for those kind of players?
It's better than Next Death for them.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I'm like not even trolling. I say that completely genuine.
Okay. Because I mean, they have to put it in that perspective, right? Is we have new players coming to the game, they don't know what's going to be thrown
at
out.
this patch, to my understanding.
Yeah. All right. So talking about this tier overall, unless there's something else you guys want to put in particular to Titan right now. Anybody?
I think Titan's a good fight for the new people getting into Savage, simply because there's not the debuff vomit phase like we had in Neo X Death and in like O12S as well. Like when mechanics happen, it's very clear based on the marker like what's going to happen. Like you're introduced to the orange and the yellow right at the start of the and it builds on that with the blue one as well. And I think at least I found all the mechanics pretty obvious as to what needed to be done with them.
Okay.
And so the puzzle was a lot less cryptic, I suppose, when you were looking for the solution.
Okay.
I think for Titan, like there was another group. There was a different group that did it right. They stacked gear on their was it their scholar, right?
Oh yeah, we
So-
didn't do that strategy, so
So like they probably had it better with the healing checks. You know. So maybe that was something we could have changed. You know.
All right. Overall, this tier, guys, what's your rating on tiers as a well done Savage difficulty? Not pointing at I'm looking at a challenge from a world first perspective, but maybe just a hey, how well did they do this tier for what they were trying to accomplish, or that we assume they're trying to accomplish. And I'm gonna start with Elysium with Syl.
I mean, I think for at least the beginning of the expansion, it's an okay setting for this Tears for Savage. Hopefully, going into 5.2, 5.4, they up the difficulties where it's more than
14 hours. Yeah.
yeah, more than one day, because I think pumping it out all in one sitting is not the kind of prog that I like. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. What's the rating that you'd give it?
Out
of
give
10.
it like a 6.5.
6.5. Okay. Layla.
I give it a Wens 5.1 out of 10.
Okay. Okay. Svi.
I actually really liked it. I think it's a good step in the right direction compared to what everything was in Stormblood. Because Stormblood Savages actually just sucked in general. So it's more like a 7.5, but definitely still things to improve. Yeah.
All right, Gwen.
I liked it. Obviously, I'm always a fan of more of a challenge, but it's not really for Savage, I guess. I still think it's just a little too easy still. I mean, aren't Pugs doing pretty well in there? They're like on 3 right now, but whatever. I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10. Better than Stormblood, because I didn't like Stormblood Savage, like Sophia said. I don't really care for the first 2 encounters, but I really did enjoy 3 and 4, and I'm excited to do them and actually pug again for the first time in over a year, because I just completely didn't. I only rated with my static and Alphascape, so I think I might get back into pugging again this tier.
All right. Let's go to Entropy. Here we'll start with Aya. Rating wise, this tier.
I give it like a 5 out of 10. I think
geez.
they accomplished what they set out to do, but it's just not perfectly in line with what we want as hardcore players. But I do realize that this like pug environment existing and them being able to clear the fight is healthy for the game and for the community. So I can't really complain about it without like wanting the game to die.
Okay. Ayessa?
I'm gonna agree with Svea and Sol and say that like it was better than anything we got in Stormblood by far. Like the Stormblood raids were terrible. I wish the second and third fight were a bit harder, especially Voidwalker. I think so much more could have been done with those mechanics. But overall, I think it was an improvement over Stormblood. So I'll give it like 6 out of 10.
Okay. Bevan?
I think the tier was harder in July, but I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Jesus fuck. All right, Raptor.
I'd say it's a decent entry raid. I don't necessarily think it's due to the raid design of why it's easy. I think it's diluted by the fact that it's literally brain dead to play these classes in a prog setting. You can actually be pretty bad at your class and still do really well in the prog. Like, classes are infinitely easier now, or the majority of them anyway. I mean, look how bad range DPS is now. You just brain AFK on them.
Royal 3, Royal
pretty
3,
bad.
Royal 3.
Yeah, just press your glare button like over and over.
Okay.
They just need to fix the classes, make them more interesting, then maybe the raid will be more interesting as well.
Nice. Raptor, you know they're not going to change the jobs, right? Like that much.
I hope they change the next expansion.
Next expansion maybe, but I can't see any
Holy
major
crap,
changes.
healers are so boring.
It's not even just that, it's like the balancing is just way off, and like they give everyone the kits for high damage and nothing does high damage, so like it's like they don't make use of how the classes are designed. There's just not a good interaction between the raid and the classes.
Okay.
But they need to like fix a lot of their class balancing, 100%. The patch notes they put out were very disappointing.
Oh man. Yeah. Let's end that on negativity here. Did good.
I mean, it's true. I think the raid was fine though. But yeah,
Okay.
fix the classes.
All right. So we're gonna go into Twitch chat questions here in just a second. And we do have a giveaway for you guys watching. And I'm sorry, I don't have the money to ship to different countries, so I do have to limit it to the U.S. I apologize for that. I know this is a world race show, but we are going to be doing a giveaway for this guy right here, this Marlboro. So if you guys are interested in the stuffed Marlboro here, get ready. I will start that probably after the first question. But before we get into those questions, I'm also going to be doing a short, quick ad, and then we'll be right back. So bear with me, guys. Okay, welcome back, guys. I don't have a different scene, unfortunately, this time, because I didn't have time for it. Oh, and this guy fell over. But let's go back into that conversation. We're having a small conversation during that little ad break here. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Aya. Gee. All right.
No problem.
Usually don't thank people, but since you're on the show, I will. But you guys were talking about the soundtrack from that ad and how you feel like Titan didn't live up to the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I was saying that.
Yeah.
Titan did not live up to his BGM.
I don't know.
P1 did. P1 did.
So then,
that BGM should be reserved for a fast-paced boss.
So it didn't feel like a
Rule
90s
respecting.
a 90s rave or anything. Is what you're saying?
I mean, maybe that's what you jam to, dude. But
That was 90s rave all over it. Like I can go back to watching, that promo about you wouldn't steal a car DVD thing.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
It sounds exactly like that. You wouldn't download a car, whatever it was. I loved it. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I loved it, but it did make me laugh a little bit with that nostalgia. And somebody else was saying something on that, or was that it? I felt bad because I cut you guys off at the end of that conversation.
Oh, I was surprised that they put the original Titan BGM at the end of
Yeah, that they didn't actually. Oh, they put the
definitely
original.
brought me back down to earth,
Okay.
I don't know what I expected, but I did not expect that.
Let's get into questions here. I never can read the who are yous because I know half the time people are lying about who they are. Okay, this is one to start off with. Are either of your groups planning to speed run E1 to E4 for FFlog's bragging rights?
Convince our healers to actually log in, sure. Getting a healer to actually want to play right now, it's tough.
It's funny. A lot of people were telling me that there's a huge shortage in healers right now because there's no fourth job, right? And then it doesn't seem that interesting to play them anymore. And so you guys all kind of agree with that?
To put it in
Go
perspective,
ahead.
I'll happily wait 15 to 20 minutes in queue as Black Mage to do my expert roulette as something other than a healer.
I know that during our prog prep, we wanted to speedrun the primals and stuff, but doing so as a healer is just chain stratagem simulator. There's really nothing else going on for a scholar. especially on those primals where there's no damage at all.
Mhm.
So we literally told our healers like, hey, if you guys don't want to be a part, this is beneficial for us, but this seems like it's just a waste of time for you. If you guys don't want to be a part of it, that's fine. We can just sub other people. You guys can go chill. So I know that we let Solitary kind of chill when we were doing stuff that would be really mind numbing for him, but beneficial for us. It's just really not fun to play a healer in certain environments right now.
Okay.
When it came to planning for Prague, I was sat there trying to figure out how much piety do I actually need, because none of the content in the game before Savage required me to heal at all. So in a scenario where I need to cast Adlos, I need to cast Suckers, whatever, like I had no idea how much piety I actually needed, and so I sat down with spreadsheets for several hours to like try and work it out
So you should have
based
just done
on
the
like
send-off brute force
Stormblood
method.
encounters.
You should have just done the send-off brute force method where we went into a Leviathan normal mode and he said, okay, I'm going to test something. And he literally, every GCD for the entire fight, just overhealed. And he wanted to see where his...
I did that a little bit on one of the normal mode fights. Can't remember. I think it was Titan. I was just like, okay, I'll just pretend all these AoEs do damage.
Yeah,
I need to be
exactly.
shielded. But then even in Savage, on like the earlier fights and stuff, like you don't even need shields for stuff. People just if they're full health, they're absolutely fine, which I thought was disappointing.
I believe the conclusion was you really don't need much piety.
I gotta start the giveaway now too, guys. So, to enter, if you are a resident of the U.S., feel free to. You just need to type in chat "missing LB." I don't know if you guys have seen that by my friend Sam. You can type in "missing LB," and you'll be entered in the giveaway for that Marlboro. I don't feel bad because I've had that happen to me a billion times already. So.
I'm winning this one.
You've had an
I'm seeing
unlocked
so
hotbar
many-
a million times.
I'm seeing so many Europeans entering your giveaway.
Yeah, let's call
If
out
you're-
Zeppi Minato. I see him. Zeppi Minato, I see you.
If
Maybe
you
you'll
are,
win something.
if you win and you give me a European address, I will not ship it to you. Just to let you know, and then it will go to just whoever else can win it next time.
If Zeppi wins, can I give him my address?
No, if Giuseppe wins, I know he's European. I'm just gonna completely say no.
That's pretty judgmental of you.
I guess so.
If you win, is it going to Sindal?
NA favoritism.
Oh, jeez.
Entering for a friend.
I have looked at the shipping prices for Europe, and it's pretty ridiculous. And I also don't know what the rules are there. Half the countries I can't ship to because the rules for giveaways are bad. Like you can get really screwed over by doing a giveaway. But anyways, let's get into this next
Fox,
question.
I see you, dude. Good looking out, bro. Just like old times, baby. The 1-2.
Oh my god. I got a question here from Entropy. Please pronounce our name properly. Entropy. Can I just say it like that?
Perfect.
Can I just say entropy every single time?
Yeah.
Okay. Just really slow. Syllable it out. Another question we have here. This is actually maybe a pretty good one. Do you guys ever get tilted within the long hours of Prague? And if so, how do you deal with it?
I have never seen someone get more tilted than when you DDoS Nepu.
It's true.
He was so mad. Oh my
Like,
god.
focused on that one thing.
Ooh, wait a minute. DDoS Nepu as in, like, he was blaming people for it?
He was not a happy Eorzea.
A laggy raider is an unhappy raider.
Oh, well, Europeans were pretty unhappy for how many years before they got their servers, I would assume. Right?
I don't
So
really get
creator
tilted
Orton.
as much as I get bored. So I start watching YouTube videos later on in Prague. The first 4 minutes of my POV of Titan have me watching a RuneScape video.
A RuneScape
shit.
video?
Yes.
Oh god.
Are you ever going to do world first RuneScape?
I've never even played the game. That's how bored I am.
Oh my god.
I was just watching the video to have something to distract myself with.
Here's another question here. On the topic of Ultimate and Savage tiers, instead of Ultimate being a single fight based off of a previous fight, would it be better to have something even more difficult versions of the Savage tier. So I'm assuming instead of Ultimate being a single fight, would you rather have just more difficult versions of Savage?
No.
No? You don't want like a brutal Savage?
No, I don't know. Well, like 3 tiers of like normal mode, then savage, and then. Well, doesn't that just sound like WoW?
Yeah. But I mean, like, WoW
No,
does things.
I like the ultimates.
Okay. You guys are happy with having the 4 fights than the 1 really difficult fight every 3,
Yeah.
like the 3-month span there?
Yeah,
I've already
100%.
said my piece on that. Like,
Yeah.
I would prefer better four boss tiers, but if you're gonna make me choose between current Savage with ultimate or current Savage without ultimate, obviously gonna pick ultimate.
Okay. This is a question for Entropy. How did you like healing Spencer?
How did I like healing myself, or how did
I
like...
loved healing him.
Maybe they were asking how did you like healing, but it said how do you like?
Spencer.
Yeah.
I despise the current state of healers.
Okay, and we already talked on that too. All right.
Yeah, I guess I've already said some stuff about that, but I don't feel like healing becomes any more interesting as they increase the number of tools in our healing kit and decrease the number of buttons we press on a regular basis to do a DPS rotation.
Yeah, I
So
think
in a heartbeat, I'd rather have my 18-second dots back so that, you know, there's something I'm pressing every 18 seconds instead of something I'm pressing on an off global every 2 minutes.
Okay.
And I hate the pet changes.
Do you hate the pet changes?
Yeah. Other than the fact that the fairy can't take damage. That's a good change, but everything else is bad.
Okay. What do you guys want out of a Savage tier for it to be more savage, not more savage, more satisfying when doing World Prog?
Better DPS checks.
For a Savage tier, yeah, probably. I mean, maybe like a little bit more mechanics at the very end of Titan, like we talked about, but it just should be longer.
Another fight would solve a lot of problems.
That's actually probably the biggest one. Yeah, actually, maybe even the easiest of all solutions. It's just another fight.
Add a 5th boss?
Yeah, it'd be pretty. That'd actually be pretty game changing.
Like if we had the difficulty progression of this tier, like all 4 bosses are exactly how they are, but then there's a 5th boss that's tuned even higher. Like that'd be very interesting. How that, like, because then you are looking at the 2-day plus tier, and like what kind of
Depending on
mechanics
how
would
they
you
tune
see?
it, you're potentially looking at week 2.
Oh
Because
yeah, exactly.
maybe it comes down to a battle of gear. At that point, you just who knows how they.
I mean, we saw the Battle of Gear happened with Gordius, right?
Totally different game though back then.
Yeah.
Player skill was a bit lower. The cooldown reset didn't exist. Just totally different
raise
environment. Red
penalties,
mages didn't
Healer
exist.
LB3.
Healer LB3 wasn't buffed yet.
Okay, this is a good follow-up question then. As experienced raiders, how hard do you think Square Enix can make the raids normal and savage without alienating too much of the player base?
I think you kind of leave it where it is, right?
I think in terms of the actual difficulty of executing the fights, it's about where it should be, but I think they've given us too many crutches along the way. Like the things we were just talking about with Healer LB and the freeness of raising and things like that.
Next question here. As an aspiring world race competitor, the world race progression seems rather secretive, especially when it comes to playing at that skill level. Any advice for someone how to find out world prog teams, or how to find world prog teams, and any tips of getting better?
Raid, bro.
Raid. Do you guys feel like the world race teams are pretty secretive, being in the world race teams yourself?
No. I mean, we don't hide anything. Do we?
Yeah, we hide
What do we
everything. I don't know, mate.
Hey, our comp was obvious. Like, what we do is obvious. Like, I don't know. I don't think we hide really anything. At least in Savage.
We had like public logs and stuff from normal mode and primals and stuff, so comp wasn't really secret. Like if people ask me questions about healing, I'll answer them.
Like comp in general, right? Like if you have a brain, you know what's good, right? At least in competitive rating, because these are the things that you're testing, right? So you should know what's good. Like it's not a secret, right? Most people will figure it out.
Layla, you guys have anything to say about it?
I mean, for the most part, I'd say that's true. Typically, if you're good at the game, you're gonna know what's good. So I think everyone, it was not okay. Let's use Black Mage as an example. It is very, very, very obvious that Black Mage was a good DPS entering Shadowbringers. It was very, very, very obvious that White Mage was very prog friendly and Astra was not very prog friendly. I think where things are less obvious are things regarding specific fights, like specific boss strategies.
That's even more exaggerated when you've got a normal mode as well. Like only for this tier. There's a lot of
Probably
stuff
only
that
for
you
this
get.
tier, but
Yeah.
even then, like I think that actually I disagree. I think that well, it's you can go both ways. The mass populace has access to the normal modes for a very long time, so things that you figure out day one of the normal modes, they're probably going to figure out, you know, not long thereafter. Let's use the obvious example of how you bait the orbs in E1. You know, if you take a team in the E1 normal mode, a team that's actively looking for ways to break the fight or how mechanics interact with each other, that team's going to see that you bait the orbs by standing next to them. If you take teams that are not actively looking for them, it's going to take, you know, them however many pulls to see their summoner was standing next to an orb and two of them targeted them. When that comes to like actual hardcore groups, both of those teams, you know, hiding stuff or not, they're both going to figure that out at relatively the same pace because you're all looking for the same thing.
Okay.
You know, when you're given those 2 weeks, I think everyone's going to figure everything out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and draw this giveaway here. Let's see if it's
It's a
it's not Layla. I don't have to reroll. Let's go ahead. This is Jangling. Go ahead and announce it there. If you're in chat, say something just so I know you exist and that you're there to get it. We'll see. We'll ask another question. If I don't hear anything besides before we get to the next question, then we will re-roll it. So here's actually a pretty interesting question. Is it true that it's easier to world prog with mentally stable raiders?
Yes.
Say easier.
I mean, you've seen the rankings of, you know, where people finished, right?
That's
That's so beer. I have no comment.
Okay.
No comment, Rafter?
All right.
Sure.
For a real question here, what do you all expect for the upcoming Ultimate fight? How long do you want it to be? And how do you want it to be compared when comparing it to Ultimate, UCOB, and Uru?
I have no idea.
No idea?
Oh, Ranji. I want a Ranji ultimate.
Ranji?
Yeah.
He did have a disappointing end, didn't he?
Yeah.
Anyone? No one? You guys don't have any thoughts on Ultimate?
I was saying I want a Dragon Song War Ultimate.
Dragon Saw War? Okay.
Yeah.
So are we talking about Thornton?
It depends how you want to do it, but you could start with Thornton and then go into Tracevelger and Nidhogg.
I mean, honestly, if they
That's
did
one way of
Thornton,
approaching it.
they did Thornton and they just expanded on the Knights That Are Around thing, and they had different mechanics for all the different knights and everything. They wouldn't need to really go into these other fights, right?
I don't think Thornton is enough for one ultimate boss personally.
Okay.
I also don't think Thornton would be fun enough just by itself. Doesn't matter how many mechanics you give those knights, they're not going to be as fun as fighting an ultimate Nidhogg.
Okay. Everybody the same? You guys are all pretty quiet.
I mean, my answer is pretty much like what a lot of people are saying. Like, I would love to see an Alexander Ultimate. Do I want it to be next? Not necessarily. I just want it eventually. and it's just because like the mechanics you get from Alexander are so cool. Like to me especially, and I guess Alexander as a whole just holds a special place in my rating heart because it was easily my favorite. But I think there's a lot of really cool ultimate-esque mechanics that they could have in there, and aesthetically, like I think it'd just be a really epic fight, and I think it could easily be the best encounter in the game if they did it like the way that I envision it. But yeah, I mean, I would be very excited to see that.
How difficult do you think it needs to be comparing it to the other two fights? And I'm going to ask to Spencer here. How difficult do you want the next Ultimate to be?
I'm not sure if I have a good answer.
You don't have any interest on the difficulty of Ultimate?
I mean, I want it to be ultimate difficulty, but whether or not, like to me, I don't feel like UCOB is necessarily much more difficult than Uwu, at least in terms of like reclearing. But it took longer to prog, so I would enjoy something that's probably about a week long to prog.
Okay, so you don't want 2 weeks. 1 week is good enough.
Yeah, one week's fine.
So we've talked about this in our group a lot. That a topic has come up of how fast should UCOB have actually died. I think most of us agree that it definitely should have died way faster than it did. I mean, first of all, the length at which it died was a product of, I would say, the front runners of that race dropping out. But even considering that, UCOB was a difficulty that kind of, I guess, surprised a lot of raiders back then. We had been given Creator and then Deltascape. We thought they had completely forgotten how to make a hard fight, be it either arbitrarily hard or however. I think UCOB is probably a 6-day encounter. I would say with now that everyone's done Uwu, everyone's done UCOB, I'd say it's somewhere around maybe the tail end of day 5, early day 6, which is pretty similar to how Uwu panned out. I personally would like, because this content is catered for the 1%. The 1% are not players who are just starting the game. The people who are going to be doing Ultimate are the people who did the last 2 Ultimates. So, in my opinion, it should be a step above the last 2.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's ask this next question here. If anyone, and this is kind of good when we're starting in some of the final questions here. If you were talking to the dev team, let's say they're paying attention right now to what you have to say in regards to Savage, what's something that you just want to get across? You want to make sure that, hey, we want this, or this needs to be done. And I'm going to ask anyone from Entropy's team here.
I think I'd like to see some difficulty progression within fights. Because if you look at Titan, you look at phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, do you see like an upward or downward trend in difficulty? I think it's relatively the same throughout. And I'd like to see like really difficult, satisfying to beat last phase for a last encounter in a tier.
Spencer, if you were talking to Yoshida right now, what would you tell him? And non-meme-ish thing about Savage.
A non-meme-ish thing about Savage? I don't know really.
So if Yoshida was here, you'd say
I miss having multiple mechanics happening at the same time, I suppose. It felt like in this Savage, it was resolving things as they came one by one. Whereas previously you had, I don't know, you were maybe watching like your height while you were doing the tank orbs and stuff like that on Midas.
Okay.
Like doing multiple mechanics at the same time. I guess that's what I miss.
Bevan, your 2 cents to Yoshida?
I mean, why is he giving... Oh, never mind. Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Rafter?
I want actual DPS checks. That is what, like, for my group specifically, right? Like, DPS checks are what we excel at. Like, we are probably one of the better groups, I would say, for DPS checks. And it's just sad that every time you do these fights, and it's not that difficult. Even in Ultimate, to an extent, like the damage checks are not really existent. that we could run like really bad DPS comps and it's still not that bad.
Okay.
I want to be pushed on my class.
That's a fair thing to want. Mostly when we're talking about Savage is because, I mean Ultimate too, I guess. When you're going into it, your gear nerfs to fight automatically, and so just having it be difficult enough to have to be optimal with your DPS is doesn't seem like it's too hard of a request. But all right, going down the list for Elysium here. Gwen, you got to say anything to Yoshida right now. What would it be?
I mean, I would probably just want there to be like static instance timers because, like, we all know the first 13 minutes and 12 seconds of Titan were the hardest, but I really wanted the extra 20 seconds of bonus DLC that I thought I would have gotten included in my Shadowbringers Collector's Edition. But I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. But yeah.
I mean, it's kind of already been said, all of it that I would care about personally. DPS checks, just more stuff to do in fights, make it more interactive. It's vague, but that's what I want.
All right, Layla. By the way, Layla, you know you're going to be referred to as Send Off if anyone's can translate this over to JP.
I mean, that was my intention.
Okay.
I'm representing and speaking for Sindolf. My thoughts and opinions are his.
Fair enough.
I think a lot of it has been said. If the only thing that maybe hasn't been said is I want to see shared responsibility highlighted a lot going into future tiers. I think a lot of what I didn't like about Stormblood is it was very responsibility top heavy for certain mechanics. I haven't decided how I feel about the level of shared responsibility in Eden's Gate so far. We've only cleared it once. We haven't done any reclear or anything. I'll probably take me the reclear to figure that out.
Mhm.
And also the fact I literally do not remember Eden Prime or Voidwalker right now. I just remember the names of the abilities. I don't really remember how they interact with each other. It's just all a blur that they went down too quickly. Other than that, like the one thing I will say, I mean, Gwen did say it, kind of half joking, but it is a big issue that the boss rotations are not static timers, and that they can vary as bad as they do. I want to say for the record, it has nothing to like that doesn't take away from anyone's achievement this tier. I think that the teams that placed where they did placed appropriately. But I do think that going into Ultimate, I think that I would be very, very, very disappointed if we see similar problems with boss rotations on an Ultimate encounter. And I do know that they're at least aware that that it was a problem this tier. So I'm hoping that there are solutions that actually don't require them to change server infrastructure at all. We've even talked about them. We've even talked about some of them on the show.
Right.
I hope that a solution is shown come next Ultimate tier, as early as next Ultimate tier.
Okay. Still.
On top of what I think IS said about having multiple mechanics stacked on top, because I mean these fights are very linear. If you're looking at like E3S, how there's no really hard thing to do. It's kind of just it gives you the mechanic, you solve it, and then you move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I would also like some RNG aspect to the fights, where it's not just a set in stone script that they're running, where you can have different mechanics in different orders.
Okay.
Can I jump in again and
yeah,
say
please.
that I want more mitigation checks as well? Because it didn't seem like this tier had any whatsoever. Like we have tank jobs like Dark Knight and Gunbreaker with their cooldown on like 90-second cooldown.
Mhm.
It gives like 10% raid wide mitigation and stuff like that, and like we're not really using them. Like we don't have to use them.
Okay.
When they design Ultimate, they need to design Ultimate with the toolkits that they gave us in mind. because Savage was not. Like, these toolkits are crutches.
They
Like
definitely
CS7.
did that in the past, though. Like,
In past
if you think
ultimates.
last phase of UCOB, it's very specifically tuned for what kits we had at that point in time. So I
In
wouldn't be too worried
Ultimate,
about that.
but I wish there were more of that in Savage. I feel like it should exist in Savage still.
Especially with how much everything is homogenized. Like, there's not much.
Mm.
It's not a situation anymore where, like, okay, you're going through UCOB's golden phase. Okay, you needed in before whatever eye level memes from Eureka gear and dungeon gear and stuff. You know, we used to have the one rule of, okay, to go through golden, you needed one of the three. You needed either a warrior, a machinist, or an astro. And if you needed one of those three to get through golden,
Mhm.
without it being kind of like RNG plus or minus variance on whether or not you lived. It's not even any longer that bad because of how homogenized some of the toolkits are. Like, every tank has an answer to a raid wipe now. Healers, I mean, the healer kits are ridiculous. The only thing I think that got nerfed a little bit was the physical range ability to affect raid wides.
All right, that's your 2 cents to Yoshida here, and we'll see if he hears about it. But that being said, I kind of want to do a quick little segment here where you guys say your comments. And Layla, you already said some comments over here too about the race and Enrage and everything. But I'm gonna start with Elysium, you guys, and I'll start with Layla again. What if you had anything you want to say to Entropy right now? You got him on the phone. What are you gonna say to Entropy?
Well, I talked to Vox and Rafter a decent amount in DMs already, so I've already kind of
Mhm.
shared my thoughts about the tier and stuff.
Mhm.
I would not speak to Entropy. I would speak to the people who meme on Twitter, and I've already said this, like you said, but
Mhm.
like, instance memes are not the reason that Entropy won. I think Entropy was the best team this tier. I think had Entropy been given a 1320, a 1310 Enrage, they would have figured it out quicker than we did. I think that we didn't perform as well as we wanted this tier because we took too long to figure out how to kill a 1320 boss. And there were some adjustments we could have made in P1, and there were adjustments we could have made to our comp to meet either of those checks. We could have actually changed 2 things and actually met the 1308 check that we died to. So I would not pin it on anything other than our shortcomings. So I know that there's been some people white knighting us on Twitter or in Twitch chats. It's just not necessary or even accurate.
Okay. Rafter here. Do you want to speak for Entropy?
Sure. I think Elysium did well this tier. I think they finally gave us the competition that we were looking for in a regular tier. It's been a while since NA have put up something really good, and if they continue to be how they are, then I have high hopes for them in the Ultimate as well.
Okay. Do you guys want to say anything more salty and less sportsmanlike? No.
Better next time.
Vox's glamour is still trash all these years later.
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. No salty stuff for this show. Leaf didn't come on, so they left all that at home.
And if you got on a different team, you know, maybe different words were said.
Oh, all right. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to ask you. You know, I didn't bring this up, but this is something that I wanted to bring up. I don't know why I didn't. When we're thinking about WoW raids and everything, you guys they have a whole streaming house. Method is over there streaming it. They're discussing the tier and everything as they're going through and doing it. We saw something that was close to it with is it Solidarity or what was it?
Solari?
Solari.
Yeah.
Which was a French house that was, I don't know if it was a gaming house. I think it was actually just a group that was representing I think they're a streaming channel. And they were all in the same room. We saw them with the whiteboard and everything else going through with that. Are you thinking that maybe Final Fantasy XIV will start turning into a little bit more of that, or are we going to stick to the same that we have been?
I mean, it didn't seem to impact their performance that much. Didn't look too good, but maybe.
I mean, this was this their first tier?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. It's the first tier that I've seen him streaming and actually all together, as someone all together in a room. I haven't seen that in any other tier. That's why it stood out so much to me.
They've been around for a while. A lot of them are streaming on Twitch a lot, I think.
Anyone from Elysium want to say anything on to that note?
Just waiting for the Red Bull sponsor.
I mean, we already advertised it a little bit with Layla drinking it, so.
I mean, if we're going to stream it, I think the only way we could do that is if you hosted the World Race show, Frosty.
You want me to the host?
Hosty.
Frosty the hosty.
I could do it, maybe. We'd see.
We'd have to live shoutcast us as we prog.
Do you know how boring that would have to get after a while? You know, I actually have thought about it, though. I have thought about something similar to it, where and this would only work during Savage. There's no way I could do it for like a week during Ultimate, but during like Savage on that whole day, it's not just you guys going through it. Like, people aren't going to be streaming it, and that's perfectly fine and everything else, but there are people who are streaming it, and we can take that footage and dissect it and do like Ninth Man on stream, right?
That's definitely what you do. That's what happens in the most recent, WoW streamed events. They literally dissect the mechanics down on stream and showcasing new boss movements and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have but they have experienced players behind the desk doing this.
Oh, what the fuck you trying to? Okay, no, that's all right. That's all right.
You said you wanted a little bit more shots fired
No,
this
no.
show, so
Fair, man. Fair.
bang, bang.
That's all right, dude. Can you send me my shirt back?
I have it behind me in the closet.
Dude. All right. I think that's good to wrap up the show, guys. It was a lot of fun having you guys on. Not as salty as people were expecting, but you guys are respectful raiders, right? Not gonna be assholes. I don't expect
of course.
It's for the love of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you guys have any crazy financial investment in the world race. You guys are doing this mostly because it's fun, and you
Free to play, baby.
except for the vacation thing, right? All right. And what'd you guys go and do for that one turn, Rafter?
Huh?
Kakashi sent you guys all on a vacation or something?
I mean, it's happened in the past, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I remember that. But in all honesty, no, there's no real big financial gain at all from doing a world race. You guys are just having fun with it.
Maybe.
maybe there's a stack of Amazon vouchers behind you. I don't know.
Who knows?
Guys, thank you all for coming, and I guess I want to get to each person real quick, last words, shout outs and everything before we end the show, and I'm gonna go Entropy first, I guess, this time, and then we'll go to Elysium, and just last words to chat and anything that you want to say before we go off air, and maybe some shout outs. And Aya, would you like to lead us off?
The only shout out I have is to the Monk Lounge 2 Discord. It's not the Monk Lounge on the balance. I hate those.
Okay. All right. Good one, Aya. Good one. Yes. What do you have to say? I guess
I'm going there right now.
I'd like to give a shout out to Kuni, Nexum, Hikari, Kim, and Raifu for helping craft us pots and stuff when it turned out that our crafting team wasn't really up to par. And they went and made us a lot of extra food and pots, so I want to thank them. And for melding.
All right, Bevan.
Well, I asked to stole my shout out. Feels bad. Oh! I got a shout out to my other half on Discord, Nico. Thank you.
Okay. Rafter.
I guess shout out to the competition this tier and for Nexume for handling all the responsibility when I'm too busy to do it myself. That guy is a great help to us every tier and continues to be so.
All right, let's go to Elysium here. Gwen.
I'd say shout out to our crafters because they were sick, and also to Oriza Mercury from my trial earlier today, who randomly said congratulations to me. So thanks, bud.
Okay, Sophia.
Yeah, crafting team again. Can't stress how good they were. DFC, my team, competition, you, Frosty.
Oh, thanks. Okay, all right, Sil.
I'd like to give a shout out specifically to Pomoka Luka for crafting me food just before the start of raid, so I didn't have to craft it myself. Then all of the El Jefe cartel, because they've always crafted stuff for me for free.
Okay. There you go. Not for free anymore. They get sponsored ads, right?
Yeah, one day.
All right, Layla, you want to finish us off?
It's a little lewd, but I am greatly looking forward to when they overbuff the shit out of Warrior and force me to play it for another 4 years.
Oh god, please no.
And shout out to the squad. I really enjoyed progging this tier with them. I don't think we're going to be making any changes for the 4 ultimate, so going to be interested in getting back in there with the boys. It was fun progging again, so yeah, just happy that my team came through and performed. Shout out to FC and all the crafters again. The crafters definitely went above and beyond expectations this tier. We had a bunch of new faces, so was really happy to see with how they performed. And shout out to you, Frosty.
Thank you. Of course. And I want to definitely mention I appreciate everybody who came on the show today. I know it was really last minute for you guys.
Real quick.
Sure.
Real quick. I did shout these people out earlier, but
Okay.
not on your show, Frosty.
Sure.
Specifically want to shout out Leia and Jodo for helping us out a lot before.
So I can see Jodo complaining in chat. Is that okay?
No, he deserves a shout out.
Okay. But yeah, to end it off here, guys, thank you for coming on the show, especially Elysium over here. You guys, I did this last minute yesterday, asked you to come on, and so I appreciate that, and I appreciate Entropy giving me a chance, of course, to bring them on after the race. I know you guys are all tired and exhausted. Although you guys cleared it like 3 days ago, so yeah, had some time to rest. But no, it means a lot that you guys come on a show and we get a chance to kind of talk about it right after everything has happened. I do want to do a shout out to chat, everybody who came by and watched the show today. Of course, Kiara for my emotional support in the background, my wife, then Andre Kane for the music that I use in the intro and the closing, Blazana for the layout that we use on the show that I manipulate every single time, and of course, again, everybody coming here every single week. MogTalk has been in a good upswing for this expansion, and it means a lot that you guys are out there supporting the show. And I hope I can provide some decent quality shows going out for the rest of this expansion. And with that being said, I guess we should do our waves here. Be good, keep cool, stay frosty. All you guys wave. Do it.
I'm waving.
Can you guys see it?
I'm waving.
I'm not waving.
Oh,
I'm waving.
come on.
Of course, we do shit.